also contain and is only suitable for people aged 18 or over, will almost certainly have an adult theme, and might well contain sex or violence, which are quite graphic. It may also contain explicit language, including sexual swear words. Thanks for listening.
But here's what his revelation comes to him. He's kind of got all this stuff, like touching, wiping, mourning of the animals.
Not wiping, whipping.
Yeah.
Also not touching.
I am dyslexic. I hope I'm not having like a stroke.
Do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
And then atheists almost always become supporters of eugenics and abortion.
A swine is hungry for nuts. Jesus hates them too.
Satan is real.
Being a Satanist is an open declaration of revolt against counterproductive received wisdom and mindless rogue tradition.
Decapitate her head off.
We're done. You're done.
Obama!
Welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Tonight is episode 78. Today is Wednesday, November 11th, 2015. We will be going over the Republican debates that happened yesterday. I'm Dan.
Matt. And I'm Ryan.
That was pretty cool. I like that.
Was it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like that more than the meow.
I know, but that's like a staple, though, now, the meow. Matt.
It was good.
It's like a Muppet.
Yeah. So we have decided that we're not going to cover the kids' table debate, because really those guys are irrelevant. I mean, Lindsey Graham didn't even make the cut to be in the kids' table debate.
Mm-hmm. Christie, Huckabee, Santorum, and Jindal were the four in the kids' table.
Yeah. And I watched it earlier, and I mean, they said the same things that they've said in the previous three debates.
Santorum did get a little bit angry toward the end. It was weird.
Yeah.
They all get angry towards the end. That's their thing. It's like,
well, and Jindal was taking pot shots at Huckabee.
Oh, yeah.
Which was kind of fun. I mean, offering him a juice drink or a juice box.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get to watch the table last night because I forgot what time it was, and I was like doing tests.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I watched it today. So, of course, being Veterans Day today, I had the day off, so I was I had it going just in the background on my computer while I was doing some other shit, but didn't pay a really close attention to it. There were a couple things that kind of stood out every now and then, and I'd turn and look at the computer like, what the fuck did he just say? But
yeah,
I mean, it was all the same typical Republican talking point bullshit. Yeah. A lot of their things that will not work. I mean, they're talking about, closing the IRS, while also doing away with tax
shutting it down. Yeah,
while also doing away with tax loopholes. Like, who the fuck would then check these loopholes?
Well, they want to get rid of loopholes, and they only want a 3-page IRS code. It's like there's so many loopholes that aren't covered right now in a 50-page IRS or a 100-page. I don't know how big it is. Big.
Tens of thousands of pages.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, the page count is fucking stupid anyway. That's a ridiculous measure of anything. Like, what if I set it to 36-point font? Then it would be 158,000 pages.
They just said blah, blah, blah for a while. Like, how much of it's actually relevant?
Yeah.
They expect to get rid of legislation. They expect people to do the right moral thing in society all on their own, which we know big businesses will not do that unless they're forced to.
Well, and it pisses me off. I hear them talk all the time about abolishing the IRS and getting rid of the IRS, and it really makes me mad because
I work for the IRS.
Because it is. I mean, that's a big part of it. I mean,
yeah, sure.
I work for the IRS, but the IRS is everybody's whipping boy.
Yeah.
That's the group that everybody points to because we're the people who actually take the money out of your pockets or out of your paycheck or whatever. But we don't do it just willy-nilly or on a fucking whim. It's because of these assholes in Congress who tell us what we have to do. We don't just say, I'm going to take money from Jim because I like Jim's money more than Jill's money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an arbitrary set of rules that we're just putting out there. We're following congressional orders.
And this is the same group, the Republicans, who are so pro-God all the time, and the IRS does almost nothing to touch the money of the churches that are coming in corrupt ways. And are being taunted by the pastors and ministers of these churches. They want to protect both.
Yeah.
They want to protect the ministers and then also abolish the IRS. Like, well, what the fuck are you worried about?
Yeah, and then when the Archdiocese of Minnesota gets sued for molesting children, they just move all their money into a cemetery where it can't be like, oh, we don't have any money in our coffers. It's like, wait, but you just funneled it to the cemetery.
They just buried it somewhere?
No, like they took all their money. Like now the cemetery owns it, so it's no longer part of the Archdiocese money. But now the cemetery has a shit ton of money.
Yeah. Just shuffling funds
shuffling the money around to different places, so that way when they came to paying out lawsuits, they're like, we don't have any money in our coffers to pay you.
Well,
Sorry.
Like, the IRS is the group that collects the money and makes sure that people are following the tax code that Congress has laid out.
Right.
And if we don't do it, we get in trouble with Congress because we're not doing what they tell us to do. If we do it, then they point at us and go, you guys are fucking dicks for doing what we told you to do.
Right.
And then how the fuck do they figure they're going to fund anything without an agency that actually collects those funds?
Collects the funds, monitors the funds, and makes sure people are paying those funds.
I mean, if the IRS goes completely away, how do they figure those funds are going to be managed or collected or
They're not.
Right? Like,
there will be no accountability.
it's just nonsensical.
Yeah, it is.
It's something they throw out there as red meat for the fucking ignorant masses who don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
You know what I call it? Cockshittery.
Yeah.
Not nuggery?
No, no, that was last week. This week it's cockshittery.
Cockshittery.
Twit-twattery?
Oh my God.
Uh-oh.
You just reminded me, there's this horrific story that Dampf tells that he had a...
Oh, he didn't shit out of his dick, did he?
He did.
Oh, how do you shit out of your dick?
He was shitting out of his
How
dick.
do you shit out of your dick?
He apparently developed some perforation in his bowel
That led into his, like...
that somehow got into his bladder, and he was shitting out of his dick. And it tells this story like, I gotta go to the doctor because
I got poop coming out of my dick.
You didn't have to tell me any of that. You could have just said, I'm not feeling well. I've got some problems. Whatever. You don't have to fucking tell me that. I don't want to know that shit.
If I literally shit out of my dick, I'd probably be sitting by the toilet for about a half hour just looking at it going,
oh my God. So now every time I see
that's
him,
not right.
So now every time I see him, besides thinking, here's
a
a guy who is well intentioned and is by all accounts a fairly nice guy, but he's just so fucking ignorant. But then every time I see him, I'm thinking, this guy shits out of his dick sometimes, or has in the past.
This guy is a dick shitter.
Yeah, how could you not think that?
Like that's fucking horrific.
Dude, the day after you heard that story, you should have brought him lunch and just been like, here, man. Oh, good. What is it? Strawberry jelly and crunchy peanut butter.
Don't shit it out your dick.
Oh man, now he's got arthritis problems, and I mean, he's got some medical problems, but
it sounds like his God is not taking very well care of him.
No,
he shat out of his penis.
I might have to do like a WebMD lookup for like shitting out of your penis.
Yeah, see what it says.
Can you imagine? Like you've got some internal pain going on, right? And you go in to take a leak, and your piss is brown and lumpy. Like
it's like I know it took a long time to get out, but it shouldn't have coagulated in there.
And smells like shit.
Right. Oh God, and the infection.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, and you're standing at the urinal and someone's like, dude, turn on the fart fan. You're like, no, I'm just taking a shit piss.
Just shitting on my dick.
Don't worry about it.
Someone must do it.
I totally derailed this. I'm sorry. But when you said
damn.
cock shit, I was like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, that's what cockshittery is supposed to like. It's like cock and you're shitting out of it. And I thought it was like a made up thing in my mind. It becomes real, and I'm terrified. Does he have to use
the stall every time? Because like you can't go to the urinal and hopefully all of that flushes. Because then people are like, "Who's shit in the urinal?"
Well,
my question is,
like, "Oh, it was me."
It'd be like that episode of South Park. All right, somebody dropped a deuce in the urinal.
Yeah.
Somebody left a mud monkey.
Right.
I mean, I guess my big thought is
except it'd be like a weird wormy deuce. Like it wouldn't.
Just
be like
when you take like
that
cool gelatin stuff and put it in like water when it solidifies like automatically.
Like those old Play-Doh factory things.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
You had the little...
It's probably coming out the same speed.
You had the little sliding
spaghetti
things that would
extruder.
Not only do I have bad images in my mind, but I bet our listeners have horrible, I can't even say it right, because the images in my minds are fucking with my brains.
Yeah.
It's fucking chocolate toothpaste.
That's horrible.
And then you'd have to like milk and squeeze out.
Oh
the
god,
last
yeah.
bit.
You'd have to.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, does poo follow the pee? Does pee follow the poo to flush it out? Because if it doesn't, it's like
I doubt it.
Is it a mixture? Is it like it's spurting like a poo blast comes up to some pee, and then a poo blast and some pee?
I bet the shit settles, so the pee comes first.
Yeah.
I think we've talked enough about fucking cock shittery.
My shoulders are all like hunched up.
Yeah. There's like parsley flakes and random stuff.
Like when he first told me that, I was like, "What in the fuck are you?
Why are you talking about this at work?
Why are you telling me this?
You're the most
inappropriate. Know
well,
any of this information?
Soon enough, he'll be damp, dead ass motherfucker. So
well, if you're still listening to this, we'll be getting some Republican debates here.
Oh, right. More.
That we're doing a show. Sorry, yeah.
More shitting out of their cocks.
Yeah, that's why I was referring to cock shittery. That's what the Republicans are.
Yeah.
Listen, they're just some cock shittery.
I gotcha.
I didn't realize it was a real thing.
Oh, it was fucking. It was. Yeah, I can't even imagine. That shit would be fucking nightmarish.
Those were the shittiest dick jokes we've ever done, you guys.
Yeah. Are we going to find the beginning of the debate? Or are we going to play this pre-show? There's a good.
Play the pre-show.
No, the pre-show is just it's all
fucking
like
Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan is our hero.
Ronald Raven.
Oh yeah.
So where
I've got the audio muted right now.
From where was this broadcast?
Milwaukee.
Oh, that's right. We just talked about that.
Yeah, it was in
But
Milwaukee.
that wasn't during this bit of recording.
No, we said that pre doing because we were making fun of that.
Okay, so I'm gonna set it here. This looks like the beginning.
Yeah, this is when they start like getting the moderators talking, and it's Fox News or it's Fox Business. I apologize, Fox News. It's your other friends, Fox Business.
Geographic.
Oh, so you guys know. I didn't mean to pause this and interject again. You guys know I watch.
That's all right. I gotta go shit out of my dick real quick.
Okay, so I watch Meet the Press and Fox News.
You watch torture porn on Sundays.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Meet the Press isn't always torture porn. Fox News Sunday almost always is. But I noticed that last week and the week before and possibly the week before that, I can't remember for sure, that I did not have my Fox Newscast recorded when I thought it should have been.
So what'd you get?
It was just gone. There was no recording of it at all. And so I was like, what in the fuck? What's going on? So after 2 weeks of this and figuring that there must be some obvious problem with my DVR, I went through all of my settings last night to make sure that it's still set up to record it and everything. So the local Fox channel is 13. That's where they were airing the Fox News Sunday.
Yeah.
And I look and I see that it's still in my managed recordings for DirecTV, that it's still set up as, it should be recording Fox News Sunday on Channel 13. So then I go to my guide and I skip forward to this coming Sunday and see that no longer is Fox News Sunday broadcast on our local Fox station.
Oh.
They have replaced it with fucking like Good Weekend Utah or something like that plays for like 4 fucking hours throughout Saturday morning.
And sometimes during Sunday football.
They've taken the national programming off of the local channel, and I had to go, and now I think I'm recording it from the regular Fox News channel instead of the local. And I just thought,
you would think
that was weird. Like,
conservative the state is, they would want to keep it on the air.
Well, yeah, I was like, is this because hopefully Utah's not quite as conservative and nobody was fucking watching it? Or like, what good news?
Or maybe Fox News, like the main, Bernie Madoff fucks. No, it's not Bernie.
Not Bernie Madoff.
No, I said the wrong.
Murdoch.
Rupert
Murdoch.
Yeah. Sorry, my neural pathways get
I got
confused.
my old person first name, last name that starts with an M confused.
Yeah, I mean it happens. It's the same fuck who bought National Geographic.
Same fuck who bought
same cock shittery guy. But no, maybe their conservative policy made them ask for more money from local networks that were airing their show.
Maybe, I don't know. I was just really hopeful
Because capitalism rules.
that it was not doing very well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I haven't watched Fox News for the past couple weeks.
Good.
I haven't missed it a whole lot.
Have your spirits been lifted?
I've been really busy with other shit anyway, but yeah, I haven't been screaming at my TV Sunday mornings for the past couple weeks.
Your brain aneurysm has gotten better?
Yes. My blood pressure has come down a little bit.
Nice.
All right, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
It is 9 p.m. on the East Coast.
No, it's not.
8 p.m. here inside the Milwaukee Theater. Welcome
Neil
to the
Cavuto.
Republican presidential debate here on the Fox Business Network. I'm
Welcome
Neil
here
Cavuto,
to
my
the Fox News
Maria
here.
Bartiromo,
Yeah.
Crank that
and
up
the
just
editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal.
I just figured people wanted to hear.
Tonight, we are partnering with the Wall Street Journal
No,
to
that's
ask
good there.
questions on the economy that voters want answered. We're also working with Facebook, who tells us that since the first Republican debate, more than 58 million people have joined the political conversation online. More than 9 million are talking specifically about the economy.
The candidates on stage tonight were selected based on their standing in an average of 4 national polls, those standings determining their position on the stage. And here they are. At
Lindsey
center
Graham
stage,
didn't even make the kids
businessman Donald
time.
Trump.
Businessman
I mean,
Donald
how
Trump.
he can't be staying in then. No matter how much God talks to him, he cannot be
Neurosurgeon
staying in.
Dr. Ben Carson.
Ben, liar, liar, pants on fire, Carson.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
Does that guy's ears get bigger every time?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I think he's got someone pulling on his earlobes, just like stretching
Texas
him.
Senator Ted Cruz.
That guy's neck gets bigger.
And his nose gets longer.
That's what I said last night. I'm like, he's fatter
Former
every
Florida
debate.
Governor Jeb Bush.
Jeb Bush.
Jeb's like, look at him. He's not even, he's
doesn't
barely
care.
cracking a smile. He's like, fucking hate this.
Businesswoman Carly Fiorina.
It hurts her to smile.
It looks like she's going to
Ohio
break
Governor
something.
John Kasich.
He seems so blue collar compared to the rest of them.
I heard rumor that Kasich lost his shit on
Senator
this.
A little bit. You can kind of see him like gripping the podium and being like, I want to yell at you right now.
I think he Jim Webbed a little bit.
Yeah.
Tonight's rules are
One of them
simple.
did. Hold on.
Up to 90 seconds for each answer, 1 minute for
So-
each follow-up response. And if a
So this was broadcast the day before Veterans Day, which is today.
Yes.
Right.
I'm interested to hear if they even touch on veterans issues at all.
I think the spoiler is no.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's Fox. This whole thing is more fluff.
A few of the candidates talk about some veteran.
Yeah, they bring it up on their
but-
own a little bit, but it's not a direct question to them. Like funding the VA or how do you know?
All right, let me get back.
candidate goes over their allotted time,
No,
you'll hear
there is.
this.
There's a question about
Is
it.
there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Only
Sounds
to
like a game show, but it's not. Anyway,
Ben Carson.
No, it's a game show.
now, I would be
need
remiss
circus
if I
music.
did not acknowledge the elephant in the room, and I'm not talking about your party's funds. I'm talking about the purpose of tonight's debate, the economy, and what each of you would do to improve it, no more, no less. We are focused on those issues and what you have said on those issues in your words and what your opponents have said in their words about your words. That is the agenda.
It's creepy that he's
tonight.
saying all of this while
How
staring
each of
directly
you
into the
plans to
camera.
make
Yeah.
America better.
Like he's trying to seduce you while talking about the economy.
Yeah, instead of looking at the candidates on
And
stage.
so we begin. Candidates, as we gather
I didn't know if he was
tonight
talking
in
to
this
the
very
audience,
august
like
theater,
audience sent in
just
questions,
outside and across the country, picketers are gathering as well.
Oh yeah, forgot the 1st
They're
question.
demanding an
Fuck
immediate
this.
hike in the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Just a few hours ago, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo proposed doing the same for all state workers, the first governor to do so. Mr. Trump, as the leading presidential candidate on this stage, and one whose tax plan exempts couples making up to $50,000 a year from paying any federal income taxes at all, Are you sympathetic to the protesters'
like he was gonna
cause?
belch.
Since a $15 wage works out to about $31,000 a year.
Which still isn't a whole lot.
I can't be.
No,
Neil.
it's not
And
at
the
all.
reason I can't be is that we are a country that is being beaten on every front economically.
Yeah, and our pay.
militarily. There is nothing that we do now to win. We don't win anymore. Our taxes
Again,
are
he's
too
coming out and
high. I've
shitting
come up
all
with
over
a tax
America,
number
Yeah.
but it's the
many,
greatest
many
place on the
people
face of the
like
planet.
Yeah.
very much. It's going to be a tremendous plan. I think it'll make our country and our economy very dynamic. But taxes too high, wages too high.
Wages too high?
To compete against
What
the
the
world.
fuck?
I hate to say it, but we have to leave it the way it is. People have to go out.
He probably
they have to
spent
work
$60,000
really
in
hard
gas
to get
and
into that
services to
upper
get here for this fucking
stratum.
debate.
But we cannot do this if we are going to compete with the rest of the world. We just can't do it.
It's the country that allows his dumbass
I
to be a
would not
billionaire
raise
and
the
run for
minimum.
president.
Yeah.
Dr. Carson, you have
We have to raise it to debate to keep up.
He thinks making $30,000 is too much
long
per year.
known this lackluster recovery.
That's
and this
fucking
Facebook
disgusting.
I don't know if that was a slip,
shows that Americans
but when he said we
share
get
your
paid too much,
concern.
no,
The
Donald do get paid too
represents how
much.
The jobs issue is resonating all across this nation, especially here in the state of Wisconsin. You've suggested one minimum wage does not fit all, and that perhaps we should offer a lower or starter wage for young people. Those protesters outside are looking for $15 and nothing less. Where are you?
Well, first of all, delighted to be here.
Isn't that
My family
age
is here.
discrimination?
My little granddaughter, who's 3 years old, said she wanted to come to the debate.
I love his entrance.
So this is very cool.
First of all,
as far as the minimum wage is concerned, people need to be educated on the minimum wage. Every time we raise the
You need to be
minimum wage,
educated. Yeah.
the number of jobless people increases.
Bullshit. That's a
Particularly
fucking lie.
problem in the black community. Only 19.8% of black teenagers have a job. We're looking for one. You know, and that's because of those high wages.
What? So they're not working because they get paid too much? I have never heard someone say.
In our laboratories,
I think he's saying because businesses have to pay them so much, they can't afford to hire more people.
If someone had to pay
Which is
me
that's not what he
a
said.
amount of money.
Yeah.
But what I did gain from those jobs is a tremendous amount of experience and how to operate in the world and how to relate to different people and how
Like
to become
lie
a
my ass
responsible
off every
individual.
fucking chance
and
I
that's
get.
what gave me what I needed to ascend the ladder of opportunity in this country. That's what we need to be thinking about.
Like so
How
many
do
other
we allow
black
people
young
to
black
ascend
men.
the ladder of opportunity.
I was making
rather
$8
than
an hour in
how
high
do
school.
we give them everything and keep them dependent?
That's more than the minimum wage today, and that was nearly 15 years ago.
I remember working for.
Did you hear his last statement?
So, sir, just
Rather
to be
than give
clear,
them
you would
everything
not
and
raise
keep
it-
them dependent.
No, you're keeping them dependent right now by forcing them to be on social welfare.
So he thinks that giving them a livable wage is giving them too much.
Yep.
Providing, having employers provide their employees with a livable wage is giving something to people. They're not doing anything to earn it. They're not working in a fucking job. They're just giving it.
Right. And it's not a moral obligation of an employer to make sure that their employees can fucking live and support a family.
And I've said it before, where I've said, my theory behind raising minimum wage is if you raise minimum wage, not only do you have a person maybe not working two jobs now, but only working one job, they're less dependent on social welfare. The company they work for has to pay less into social welfare itself to help fucking prop it up. And there's now another job open, so someone that's looking for a job can now find one and earn a fucking honest wage.
And that person who you've just given more money to, people at the lower end of the economic spectrum spend whatever money they have.
Yeah, they have to.
I mean, that's they do. They don't throw it into a fucking investment.
they're not
bank.
thinking about
they don't,
that.
They can't.
Yeah, they don't have the funds to do that kind of shit.
And the money
it's
they
ridiculous
save,
that they say dumb things like
and
that.
most of the money they save is to splurge on like a family vacation once a fucking year.
It's to splurge to go out to fucking Red Lobster.
Yeah, exactly. At best.
Yeah.
They don't get vacations.
Yeah, it's fucking.
I didn't grow up with any vacations.
Well, I mean, my family, we grew up not rich, but we took. I remember once a year we would go to like the Noah's Ark water parks. Go down to Great America in Gurnee, Illinois. I mean, that was our
Noah's Ark water park.
Dude, it's badass. It's one of the world's largest outdoor water parks.
Does everybody drown?
No.
Nice.
No.
Nice. I want to ride
they
the
should.
Virgin merry-go-round.
The thing is, it's not religious themed whatsoever.
Oh, too bad.
Oh, it kills me that they think that, by giving people more money, that they won't do this, that they won't spend it.
Yeah.
They want to funnel all of the money up to the top where it does nothing. It goes, it sits in a bank and earns interest.
Earns interest, buys them a new yacht, a new home.
It does nothing.
A vacation.
It does nothing to further the economy.
It doesn't.
Nope. Nothing at all.
Oh, I was going to say too, I grew up pretty fucking poor. I mean, my family, they saved to splurge on things like new shoes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking gas for the car.
Yeah. You get socks and deodorant for Christmas.
Hey, maybe this week we can eat out once.
Yeah.
Right.
Fucking...
Like, now that I'm older, I'm way more appreciative of the things my parents did for me when I was younger, because now I realize how little my parents made when they're raising 3 children.
That was the splurging my family did. It wasn't saving to go on a vacation.
Yeah.
It wasn't saving to buy a car. It was saving to fix whatever problem they had with the car and saving to buy things that they already fucking needed.
I mean, I've already owned more cars than my dad did his whole life.
Right. Right.
I would not raise it. I would not raise it specifically because I'm interested in making sure that people are able to enter the job market and take advantage of opportunities.
I don't understand what that means. Why is anybody clapping?
Senator
What
Rubio,
the fuck does that mean?
You called the recent Democratic debate in Las Vegas a night of giveaways, including free health care, free college, and a host of other government-paid benefits. Since you aren't a fan of all their giving away, tell us tonight what you would take back.
Well, let me begin by answering both the first question and this one, because they're related. As I've said many times before, my parents were never rich people. My father was a bartender. My mother was a maid. They worked for a living.
Again with the bartending.
But they were successful people, because despite the fact that they weren't well educated and had those jobs, they made enough money to buy a home in a safe and stable neighborhood, retire with dignity, leave all 4 of their children better off than themselves.
Yeah, because
we call
pay was
it the
better
American
then.
dream, but in fact, it's a universal dream of a better life that
as a
people have all
percentage,
over the
for
world.
sure.
It is a reminder that every country in the world has rich people. What makes America special is that we have millions and millions of people that are not rich, that through hard work and perseverance are able to be successful. The problem is that today people are not successful working hard as ever because the economy is not providing jobs.
Because they're
that
not
pay
making
enough.
the...
If I thought that raising the minimum wage was the best way to help people increase their pay, I would be all for it, but it isn't. In the 21st century...
Can you think of a better way?
If you raise the minimum wage, you're going to make people more expensive than a machine. And that means all this automation that's replacing jobs and people right now is only going to be accelerated. Here's the
great.
best
We'll
way
be
to raise
innovating.
wages. Make
Fuck,
America
that's
the
terrible.
best place in the world to start
New
a business
technology.
or expand an existing business. Tax reform.
And aren't
and
people worth
regulatory
more than
reform.
machines?
Yeah.
Bring our debt under control. Fully utilize our energy resources so we can reinvigorate manufacturing. Repeal and replace Obamacare. And
that's just it. He wants people to work in these fucking menial jobs.
Yep.
And I'm sure that we're going to hear somewhere in here that, people don't need to go to college. We need to just get people into the workforce, get them earning a decent living, blah, blah, blah.
You already missed that from Santorum. He said that in the first one. It's flat out. He said, we got a president right now who thinks college is important. We need workers right out of high school.
The Republican Party wants to keep people fucking stupid and working menial fucking jobs forever. I don't understand why it's bad to think that if we pay somebody more than we could get a machine to do it, that we shouldn't have the machine do it. Fuck yeah, get the machine to do it, and then have these people go off to college and learn more to innovate more things to make everybody's life better.
And someone has to fix that machine.
A fucking menial fucking job forever.
Right. They want industrial revolution economics.
Did you see what country just came out as the most prosperous country?
Who's that?
Sweden.
I wonder why.
They're a socialized country. They have free healthcare, free college education, because that's pretty much the standard nowadays almost.
Yeah.
They bring people into the workforce that are prepared for the workforce.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they actually pay residents a wage while they're going to school. They pay for their school and give them money to live on while they're going to school.
They value higher education. They value a more educated society.
They know that will ultimately contribute more to their society.
To a more advanced society.
Yeah.
Huh. What a novel idea.
Yeah. Instead of having people work in a mine.
Yeah.
Make higher education faster and easier to access, especially vocational training. For the life of me, I don't know why we have stigmatized vocational
He's going to
education.
say something here that's
welders
just not
make more
true.
money than philosophers. We need more welders and less philosophers. If we do that,
we want more welders because they make more money.
No, we don't need deep thinkers.
Welders make
a lot of those
money than philosophers.
Yeah, and a lot of those welding jobs are being taken over by those robots you talked about.
Everyone better off without making anyone worse off.
Thank you, Senator.
It's such horse shit.
So when I was in California, one of the guys in my EMT class was a welder. He couldn't find a fucking job.
To submit their questions for the candidates.
And they don't make more money.
And he was a deep sea welder.
We are approaching $20 trillion
That's
in
been
national
fact-checked,
debt.
and that's just wrong.
Specifically, what plans do you have to cut federal spending? Governor Kasich, you have spoken much about your success in balancing the budget under President Clinton. Today, the national debt is at record highs and growing unsustainably. Interest will be the fastest growing part of the federal budget, tripling over the next 10 years. Social Security, the lifeline of millions of American seniors, is rushing toward insolvency. With all of the tax plans presented tonight, estimated to cost anywhere between $2 and $12 trillion over a decade, what specific steps will you take
estimated to cost, not bring in, cost?
Yes. First of all, let me just
all
say
of their
that,
tax plans
in the state of Ohio, and I'm the only acting executive on this stage today. We do have a moderate increase in the minimum wage, and I got to tell you, my father carried mail on his back. His father was a coal miner. He died of black lung.
Oh,
he was
the
losing
black
his
lung.
eyesight.
I want to make sure that all of the people in America will have the
She
same
could barely
opportunity.
speak English.
Yeah, exactly.
I come from a town where if the wind blew the wrong way, people found themselves out of work. And economic theory is fine, but
Weird
you know
job.
what? People need help.
Wind blows
Now,
both ways
I have
here every day.
a plan that, in fact, would cut taxes, but not 11 or 12 trillion dollars, that would put my children further in debt. I have a plan that would not only cut taxes, lower the income tax rate for individuals, lower the tax for businesses so businesses will compete here and not move operations overseas, and also a plan, the only plan of anybody standing on this stage, to get us to a balanced budget by the end of a second term.
By the
And,
8 years.
You know, the simple fact of the
So
matter
that you have
is
to be reelected.
promises
Yes.
in this debate. A lot of promises about these tax cuts or tax schemes sometimes that I call them.
No, I just like how it's by
Hillary
the
and the
end of a second
Democrats
term.
promise
So if
everything
it doesn't
on the
happen in
spending
the
side.
first one,
We've gotta be
I said, wait,
responsible
by the
about
end
what
of the
we
just need more
second.
time.
on the tax
Just need
side.
more
Yes,
time.
lower taxes, lower spending. My website, johnkasich.com, will
They
show
keep
you
plugging
exactly
their
how we
websites.
balance the budget.
Nobody's going to go to your
I balanced the
fucking
budget in
website.
Washington as a chief
We're watching
architect,
you right
and
now.
I
Tell us.
balanced it in Ohio for one reason. When you balance the budget and you cut taxes, people get work.
Yeah,
And
but you
our
cut
most
social
important
programs. You cut
moral
education.
Yeah.
as
You
leaders
cut
in the
programs that
political
are.
They get more
system is to
work
make
as
sure we
miners,
create an
as
environment for
welders,
job
as auto
creation so
mechanics.
people can live their dreams and realize their
Yeah, my dream is
God-given
not to die of
potential.
black lung.
That's why it's so important. And for those at the bottom,
But people here,
we've gotta
I
do
gotta
what
keep
we
more
can
of my
to
money.
train them
Yeah.
so they
Yeah.
can move up. But
They
to
get
just
more
look
jobs
the
in the
other way
service
is not
class,
acceptable,
catering to the
because you
whims
know
and
what?
desires
As
of the
governor
wealthy.
Ohio, I have to deal with real challenges, and we've gotten it done in our state, and I will do it for
Now,
America.
realistically, not everybody can be at that
Did you
top
want
level.
to name any specific
Sure.
But you should still be able to live a lifestyle where you're
We would
happy
move the
about your
Medicare
work.
system
You're
from
making enough
7%
not to have to
growth down
worry
to about
about
5%
what am I putting on the
growth.
table tonight.
And
So,
he also was the first to mention God given.
Yeah.
so did you guys? Oh, good point. Did you guys watch the Daily Show last night?
I did not.
So they had, I think his name is Dan Price, who is the business owner who decided that he was going to pay all of his employees a minimum of $70,000.
Was he the one in Oregon? Is it Oregon or Washington?
I can't remember where he's based, but he came up with a plan to pay all of his employees a minimum wage of $70,000. It doesn't matter if you're, a programmer or a janitor or anybody just doing anything at his company was going to make a minimum of $70,000. They had him on there for an interview. It was great. The guy's one of my new heroes.
I would say an employee that's happy to come to work because they're making a good wage and is able to provide for their family and not have those stresses is going to be a way more productive employee than worrying about the fucking shit going on at home because they can't make the fucking ends meet.
Of course they're going to appreciate it more.
Well, that was the whole thing, is that he said he was out on a hike with a friend, and his friend told him that, they had read somewhere that at a wage of at a current wage of $70,000, somebody can live their life comfortably, where they're not worrying about how am I going to pay for gas to get to work?
Yeah.
Where am I going to find my next meal? How am I going to afford to pay rent? Do I have any health coverage? I can't see the doctor currently. All of these little things that people who don't make very much money have to worry about each and every fucking day. At $70,000, those worries go away.
Yeah.
They're not buying yachts.
No.
They're not
No.
vacationing every month or anything, but they don't have to worry about all of the daily minutia that all of these people below that level have to worry about every day.
All of the minimum requirements that should be morally responsible for the employer. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you want to watch morale drop, pay somebody just enough for food and gas to get them back to their job the next pay period.
Yeah.
That's fucking terrible.
And that person also has no money to put into a retirement fund where they're like, well,
no,
fuck.
that's what I mean.
I'm getting close to retirement and I can't.
Just enough
Yeah.
to be able to keep coming back to that
Yeah.
lousy fucking job.
Yeah, he's like
that is going to kill morale faster
Yeah, he said,
than
you
anything
know,
else.
I was making at the time $1.1 million a year, and you know, one of the people that I worked with was saying that she didn't know how that her rent had gone up by $200 a month, and she didn't know how she was going to make her rent.
And this guy's like, I spent $200 on a meal.
$200, that was nothing to me.
Yeah.
And she's worried about being out on the street
Over
as
$200,
an employee
yeah.
in my company, where to me $200 is nothing.
And that's the way that's the way an employer should look at it. Like, I am so comfortable at where I'm at that what is such a huge thing to that person that's nothing to me, like I can give that to you. I can give that to every single one of my employees.
Yeah.
It's just
so why shouldn't I?
It's just so rare to get somebody in that kind of a position that's not a fucking psychopath.
But the thing is that person is empathetic towards his employees.
That's
And
exactly what I just said. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's the problem.
Empathy and compassion. for his employees.
Is most employers aren't empathetic towards their employees. They're more along the lines of, well, how do I get the best bang for my buck?
Yeah.
How do I get more investors? How do I get them money?
How do I satisfy my stockholders?
I need to increase my bottom line. Yeah,
Yes.
all of that. Yep.
Like, I'm not quite a billionaire yet. I need to increase my portfolio to reach that goal.
And at what point is enough? You know, at what point
Never.
is what you make enough?
Never.
You know what I mean? Like, why?
We've seen it with this runaway capitalism. Never is enough.
Look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates was making billions. He was kind of a dick at one point in his life, making money. He wasn't happy with it. Then he starts the foundation with other multi-billionaires and millionaires going, let's give away half of our wealth before we die.
Mm-hmm.
And he started giving away money to organizations, to charities, and helping people out. And he realized, wow, this is good. Not only does it make me feel good about myself giving money to these people, but this is actually fucking helping people.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually been studied that the number one reason why people give to charity is the feeling they get from giving, and secondary is the good the gift will do.
Yes.
So even then, you can tell that people are by nature selfish.
Yeah. It's the whole thing of there's no true altruism, right?
Right.
I mean, that you can't get over that. I feel if I give money to someone, or if I give
it doesn't make it a bad thing to do.
No,
I'm just saying.
it's part of our nature.
Yeah,
but it's also a good part of our nature that we get enjoyment out of it. Because if you didn't get enjoyment out of it, you didn't like helping someone, you wouldn't fucking help anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of our bankers, and CEOs. Yeah.
I mean, that's. I think that's the crux of it. We don't
and Republican
So
politicians.
I'd like to watch the entire interview that's available on the web. I need to do that sometime soon. But he said that one of the unintended consequences of this decision was that employees at the higher end of the pay scale felt really slighted. You know,
isn't that
that they had gone to school, they'd gone through all this training, they've been doing this for years and years. You know, they're making, you know, maybe $85,000 a year, and all of a sudden the janitor is making only $15,000 less than them. And he said that he lost several talented people from the company who felt very resentful toward this decision because it didn't include an increase in that for their pay as well.
I heard someone else say this. You should never be concerned with someone else's pay.
Yeah.
Only your own.
Yeah.
Don't give a fuck what anyone else makes.
Yeah.
Be concerned about what you make. Make sure that what you make can supply your family, supply your needs.
Yeah.
And don't give a fuck about anyone else's. Because if you start caring about someone else's money they're making, you're going to get jealous. You can get envious of it.
And I think that's a good philosophy in that I don't care what anybody above me makes.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that everybody behind me has enough to live their life.
Yeah, that's
comfortably
true.
as well. You know,
but I mean, that person that's sitting higher going, well, they should be making about as much as me.
But there's another thing too, though, that this attitude and this idea of like, well, I've put myself through, you know, school or come from wherever. I mean, let's assume they did come from middle class or low class, put themselves through school and all that stuff. I mean, I think there's a certain amount of them being justified in feeling like they have the right to earn that much money. But that's a product of a broken fucking economy that was set up by Reagan and these fucking Republicans in the first place, where minimum wage is below living standard.
Yeah.
And so people have to claw and fight their way out of it. And when they do, they feel entitled.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, somewhat fairly, right? But
Well, and
you
what
know,
bothered
but
me
it's
too
created
is-
by this shitty fucking economic system.
What bothered me too is that, you know, they were fine working for the company all up to this point, right? Where they're making however much they're making, they're fine with their salary there. But then they see somebody who they deem as lesser than, who's making a lot more than they were previously,
Right.
and they think, well, I should get more pay too, so I'm going to go
Because I'm
somewhere
a
else.
be- yeah, exactly.
Like
That-
you were
yeah.
fine in this position previously, and then you see somebody who you think is a lower caste,
Right. Yeah.
basically,
That's a better point, actually.
who's making a livable wage now and is comfortable, and you're upset by that. Like, what a fucking horrible person are you?
Yeah. And then, if we can go to Veterans Day on it, we got soldiers sitting over in Iraq and Afghanistan that are 19, 20 years old, making $13,000 a year, that come home and can barely fucking afford a house payment. And then
Is that what it is? 13,000?
When I first came in, I was making $600 every other week.
Yeah.
I was making $1,200 a month. When I left, I think I was pulling in right around $2,000 a month.
Well, maybe there should be some sort of hazard pay or like.
There
well, you
is,
do get.
I mean,
higher risk.
When you're over there, you do get an extra $250 a month for hazard pay. Another, I think I was getting another $200 for combat fire pay, and I was tax free. But still, I would make on a 6-month deployment, I might bring home $7,000.
So did people who had more dangerous jobs make more money then? Like you're back at home?
It was.
I mean, while you were protecting them, did the people at home with more dangerous jobs make more money?
As far as what?
There is nothing.
No, yeah.
I'm like,
there isn't anything.
I'm like, what
That's
are you getting at
that's
here?
so stupid.
Like, what are you getting at?
No, that was his point. Is that there is no
more dangerous than small arms and mortar
Right.
fire?
I mean, unless you're a 17-year-old black man, there's nothing more dangerous.
Yeah. All right,
All right.
A whole series of ways to do that. In Ohio, we reduced Medicaid funding for the poor from 10% to 2.5%, didn't cut one benefit, or didn't take anybody off the rolls. Why? Because we're innovators. I've been an innovator my entire career, and I really don't care what special interests or lobbyists have to say. I have a job to do when I take over a public office.
Oh, Bernie's even pulling him.
Non-defense discretionary for 8 years. We also put an increase in defense spending. Our tax cuts balance out. And at the end of the day, we will get to a balanced budget. And I want everybody here to know, when I was Budget Committee Chairman in Washington, I stepped on every toe in that town, and we got to a balanced budget, and we had enormous job growth. And as governor of Ohio, we went from 350,000 lost jobs to a gain of 347,000 jobs. I'll do it in Washington. I've done it twice. I'll do it thrice for the United States of America.
Clever little rhyme from his writers there.
Senator Cruz, the International Monetary Fund recently cut its expectations for economic growth. Many economists expect a recession to hit the U.S. within the next year due to the weakening of manufacturing. The next president will have to deal with it. You say tax reform is a powerful lever to spur economic expansion.
Inside and out.
You're calling for a 10% income tax and a 16%
He's
business
just not
tax.
good looking.
What other elements do you need in this plan to actually create jobs?
Well, Maria, it's great to be with you. It's great to be here in Milwaukee. You know, the question you asked really, I think, is the most important question any of us can face, which is how do we get the economy growing? How do we bring back economic growth? Because economic growth, it's foundational to every other challenge we have. As you rightly noted, from 2008 to today, our economy has grown 1.2% a year on average.
Blame Obama.
The Obama economy is a disaster, and the IMF is telling us this is a new normal. It doesn't have to be. If you look at the history of America, there are 3 levers that government has had to facilitate economic growth. The first is tax reform, and as you noted, I have rolled out a bold and simple flat tax, 10% for every American that will produce booming growth and 4.9 million new jobs within a decade. The second element is regulatory reform, pulling back the armies of regulators that have descended like locusts on small businesses. And the third element is sound money.
Making sure that they keep their employees safe.
All 3 of those, whether it's
OSHA,
Fuck
with
OSHA.
Calvin Coolidge, or the 1960s with JFK, or the 1980s with Ronald Reagan. The result has been incredible economic
There's Reagan,
growth.
drink.
We have done it before, and with leadership, we can do it again.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me.
Uh-oh. No, it's not your turn.
Governor Bush.
Yeah. I would like to make a comment.
You've already made 2 comments, John. It's my turn.
We have more questions for Governor Kasich coming up. We have more questions
I'm
for
gonna
Governor
kick-
Kasich.
I got about 4 minutes left.
I'm going to kick some sand in your face.
I
Just
appreciate
like
it,
his
Jeb.
fucking
I'm all
brother.
for you. But I want to some point
appreciate
talk about a
it.
value-added tax and $11-12 trillion tax cuts that will put our kids way deeper in the hole than they have
I'm
been.
thinking Jeb
at this
may
point.
drop
So
out
I'd
of
like
this
to talk
before
about
the
it at some
end.
point, because that's what
He's
leadership.
looking out of the
We'll
race.
certainly get to
You
that.
think so?
Governor Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 40% of Americans are without a job and are not looking. Many have given up. That's what the participation rate tells us. You've said your policies will drive the economy back to 4%
Okay, if I remember
which we
right,
haven't seen
those
since
numbers
the year
also include the
2000.
people that are leaving the
What
workforce,
specific
that are the baby
regulations
boomers.
Would you change?
They're leaving
and
the
how will
workforce
that lead
because
to
they're
jobs
retiring.
and growth?
First of all, we could
So
get
we have more people
10%
leaving the
growth.
workforce than
The
are
new norm
entering
of
the workforce
2%
because the
puts
baby
huge
boomers are all
demands on
retiring
government.
right
The reason
now.
why we
Yeah.
have structural deficits is that more and more people are relying on government.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the
Deficit
growth
zits.
that
We have
don't
deficit
have
zits.
makes the deficit
It's an extra
grow.
deficit.
A 4% growth strategy starts with tax reform. And the proposal that I've laid out is the one the Wall Street Journal editorial board has said is the most pro-growth of all the proposals out there. We eliminate a lot of deductions and cut the rates down, a corporate rate of 20%, which puts us 5% below that of China, and
Is it above
allows
or
us
below?
full
I don't think
expensing
he
of
knows.
investing. It would create an explosion of investment back into this country, creating higher wage jobs. And so that's part of it.
Oh,
On the
so you're all
regulatory
for
side,
higher
I
wage
think we need
jobs
to repeal
to pay
every
people
rule
more.
that Barack Obama has in terms of work in progress.
That's all they say is everything Obama did is horrible and shitty. Let's
And
get rid of
start
everything he
over.
did first.
For those that are
And
already
Hillary
in
likes him, so
existence,
she's
the
bad too.
regulation of
Yeah.
the internet, we have to start over, but we ought to do that. The Clean Power Act, we ought to repeal that and start over on that.
Go with dirty power.
Waters of the United States Act, which is going to be devastating for agriculture and many industries, we should repeal that.
Oh, so we should just put all of
repeal
our
the rules
waste
because
in
the
water
economic
again?
Get rid of all the
costs of this
environmental
far exceed
regulations.
social
Yeah,
benefit.
because he's an oil
And
man.
if we're serious
I
about
love fish with
being
mercury in it.
serious about high growth,
It's
then we have
delicious.
to recognize that small
Tastes more
businesses
metallic.
right now, more of them are closing.
You can
than-
eat it
than
and
are-
see your
than are being
temperature.
set up.
Yes.
Hillary Clinton has said that Barack Obama's policies get an A. Really? 1 in 10 people right now aren't
Yeah,
working
really, motherfucker.
or have given up altogether, as you said.
Or
That's
retired.
not an A.
Are you trying to
1
say
in 7
that?
people
Are you
living
trying
in
to say that our
poverty.
economy
That's not
now
an A.
is worse
1
than
in
it was
5
under your fucking
children
brother?
Yes.
are
Yeah.
on food stamps.
That's what he's trying to
That's
say.
not an A. It may be the best that Hillary Clinton can do, but it's not the best America can do.
Even though our stock market
No,
is
it's
the
not.
highest ever,
It's
our
not the
unemployment is lower.
Even if that was the best Hillary can do, the best America can do right now is fucking Bernie.
Yeah.
Ms. Fiorina, while you've all pointed out how weak the current recovery has been and how disappointing
What are you
by
talking
historical
about?
standards, in the general election,
We
the
are
Democrats will-
recovering.
Why-
It's
why do they
finally
keep saying
back
that?
in
I don't know.
shape.
compare
Why do they
the
keep
recent
saying it's
president's
weak?
jobs performance. Now, in 7
Compared
years
to
under
what?
Obama,
Hold on.
Compared
for a
to
They
minute.
like to say it's weak because it's one of their fucking talking
Just
points.
a quick second. I want to say the company I work for has had a banner on the side of the building that faces I-15 since well before I've worked there, saying now hiring, call this number, right? And we have tons of applicants come in for entry-level positions all the time. Only in the last year or so has it been very difficult to find anybody to fill any of the positions we need because the economy's so good. People have jobs now.
Yeah.
They're working. They can go anywhere. Like
Yeah.
we used to bring in tons of people. We used to have
tons of
training groups
qualified people.
of
Yeah.
20 or 25 people. Now we can't find 1 or 2.
Well, and that's also why I said that number is skewed because when you look at the broad number, they include the people leaving the workforce in that number. So everybody that's retiring that are of the baby boomer age, leaving the workforce, are counted as people now no longer in the workforce. They left the workforce. Well, guess what? They're not looking for jobs. Of course, because they fucking retired.
They're of working age and they're not working.
Yes. They're baby boomers that have left the workforce because they made good money in the 70s and 80s and are able to fucking retire right now.
Yeah, the Social Security killers.
Yeah, that the stock market has come back up and their 401ks have
Yes.
recognized the gains that they had
Yes.
lost during the Bush presidency.
Which is why they would rather raise Social Security to an age of, what, 68?
67, I think,
67,
was it? Yeah.
68? So to try to force you to stay in the fucking workforce longer instead of these people right now, they're able to retire at the age of fucking 50 or like fucking 45 somewhere if they're lucky.
Yeah.
That's a massive penalty, but yeah.
107,000 jobs a month. Under President Clinton, the economy added about 240,000 jobs a month. Under George W. Bush, it was only 13,000 a month. If you win the nomination, you'll probably be facing a Democrat named Clinton.
13,000 a month.
How are you going to respond to the claim that Democratic presidents are better at creating jobs than Republicans?
When it's been proven
Well,
not.
first of all, I must say, as I think about that question, I think about a woman I met the
Here's
other
the story.
day. I would guess she was 40 years
This is
old.
what I was talking about.
Yeah.
They
had
dodge
several
questions
children.
by telling stories.
And she said to me, you know,
And then
Carly,
blame
I
all
go to
Democrats.
bed every
Watch.
night
Yeah.
afraid for my children's future.
Dodging it.
And that really struck me. This is America. A mother is going to bed afraid for her children's future.
Bullshit.
And the
You don't
reason
fucking
she's
care
afraid
about
for her children's
anybody.
future
This is just like her Planned
because we've
Parenthood
had
story where she
problems
saw
for a
a baby
long
being
time.
aborted and
Yes,
then killed when it was out of the
problems
womb,
have gotten much
which
worse
is
under
completely
Democrats.
100% false, and
But
she
the
never
truth
showed us what the
is, this
video was.
government has been growing
Is she going full
bigger
Carson
and
on us?
bigger,
Oh, she's going full
more
Carson.
corrupt, less effective.
You never go full
crushing
Carson.
the engine of economic growth for a very long time. This isn't about
We need to
just
make a meme
replacing a Democrat with
from
a
that movie
Republican now.
saying
It's
you never
about
go full Carson.
Never go full Carson. I think I
challenging
might have
the
seen
status
one
quo.
actually.
Oh, I was just
Big
going to
government
do it
Like
right
somebody
now.
had superimposed his
created
face.
Oh, on
a
that
big
guy?
business
Oh,
called
shit.
You went full
politics.
Carson. You never go
There
full
are lots of
Carson.
people invested in the status quo of that big business called politics. Specifically, we need actually to do 5 things to really get this economy going again. We need to go to zero-based budgeting, so we know where every dollar is being spent. We can challenge any dollar, cut any dollar, move any dollar. We need
And if
to
something
actually
happens
reform the
outside that
tax
budget,
code. Go to
well,
a
too
3-page
fucking bad.
tax
Yeah.
code. Yes, there are plans that will reform our tax code to 3
Natural
pages.
disasters?
In addition to rolling back
Yeah.
what President
Fuck 'em.
Obama has done, we need to do a top-to-bottom review of every single regulation on the books. That hasn't been done in 50 years. We need to pass the REINS Act so Congress is in charge of regulation, not nameless, faceless bureaucrats accountable to no one. We become a nation of rules, not a nation of laws. And finally, we actually, yes, have to hold government officials accountable for their performance. All this has to be done, and
We
the
do that by
citizens of
voting.
this nation
Yeah.
must
Yeah.
help a President Fiorina get it done. We must take our government back.
Thank you.
From what? Take it back from what?
The Democrats.
Thank you. Senator Paul, income inequality has been rising in the United States. 50 years ago, for example, the average CEO of a big corporation in this country earned 20 times the average salary of one of his or her workers. Today, that CEO earns about 300 times the average salary of workers.
300.
Jesus
Does
Christ.
it matter at all that the gap between the rich and everyone else is widening?
A 6,000%
Absolutely.
increase.
And I think that we ought to look
Republicans
where
make it
income
better.
Inequality seems to be the worst. It seems to be worst in cities run by Democrats.
Bullshit.
Governors have
That's totally
states
false.
run by Democrats and countries currently run by Democrats. So the thing is, let's look for root causes. But I would also lay some blame at the feet of the Federal Reserve.
That 300
I
number?
think the Federal Reserve
He's
has
going
made this
Federal
problem
Reserve.
worse.
He's going his dad. on this.
It would take
Daddy's
below the
talking
market
points
rate.
where the Federal Reserve is
Average
bad.
ordinary citizens
It would
have a
take
tough
someone
time earning
25
interest,
years
have a tough
to
time
earn the
making
same amount of
money.
money
We're
as a
actually talking
CEO
about
makes in
negative
1
interest.
month.
Yeah.
The money as it's created through quantitative easing or other means tends to start out in the big banks in New York. And because we're now paying interest for them to keep the money there, much of that money has not filtered out into the economy. So what we're finding is there
because
is
trickle-down economics doesn't fucking work.
disparity and income inequality. We also find that as the Federal Reserve destroys the value of the currency, what you're finding is that if you're poor,
We gotta go to a gold standard.
$20,000 a year and you have 3 or 4
Dumbass.
kids and you're trying to get by, as your prices rise, or as the value of the dollar shrinks, these are the people that are hurt the worst. So really, we need to re-examine whether we want a Federal Reserve that's involved so much in determining interest rates. We also need to look at root causes as to what caused the housing boom and the housing collapse. But the bottom line is, if you want less income inequality, move to a city with a Republican mayor or a state with a Republican governor.
No thanks.
Bullshit.
All right, we're only just getting started. Coming up, your taxes. Stick around. You're watching Fox Business.
This next bit cracks me up.
Welcome back to the Milwaukee Theater and the Republican presidential debate. Let's get right back to our questions.
This is nice. I don't have to skip through commercials.
I know. Hold on real quick.
You recently railed against the double standard.
Sorry. I just want to see real quick because my notes for this say that the question is for Ben Carson. Should we vet candidates? And he says, yeah, but not me. And Hillary's bad.
Don't vet me. And Hillary's bad. And also socialism is probably not a good thing.
Yeah. I want to see if I was drinking. I just want to see if it's accurate.
I want to check my murky memories.
Yeah.
Standard in the media, sir, that seems obsessed with inconsistencies and potential exaggerations in your life story, but looked the other way when it came
potential
to
exaggerations.
Barack Obama's. Still, as
but
a
they didn't look at
candidate
Barack
whose brand
Obama's
has
exaggerations.
always been trust, are you worried your campaign, which you've always said, sir, is bigger than you, is now being hurt by you?
Well, first of all, thank you for not asking me what I said in the 10th grade. I appreciate that.
Because I was a fucking liar then.
Yeah.
I'll just forget that follow-up there.
The fact of the matter is, what we should
The
vet
fact
all
of the matter, how can
I
we
have no problem with being vetted. What I do have a problem with is being lied about. And then
Fuck you
made the lie.
Truth. And I don't even mind that so much if they do it with everybody, like people on the other side. But when I look at somebody like Hillary Clinton,
he could barely get it out.
Hillary,
is she coming right? Is she behind you right now?
Government official that
he's got a boner thinking
this
about
was a
her.
terrorist attack, and then tells everybody else that it was a video. Where I came
she
from, they
recanted
call
that.
A lie. And
yes, in the first few hours of the whole incident, they thought
Fuck this guy so much.
I know.
I
hate him more every time I see him.
Yeah.
From somebody misinterpreting when I said
misinterpreting
what you wrote down
to West Point. That's the words that they used. But I've had many people come and say the same thing to me.
West Point has no proof that Westmoreland offered you a
we
fucking
have to start treating people
full ride scholarship.
And finding
he never
out what
fucking
people really
applied
are.
there.
Yeah.
He probably never even met Westmoreland.
No,
of course not.
That I'm an honest person.
Was he even
You're
in
not
the
an honest
ROTC?
person.
No, you're not an honest person.
Trust me, I'm an honest person. Says the most fucking dishonest people everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
Appeals Court just dealt a blow to the Obama administration's plan to prevent the deportation of 5 million people living in this country illegally. The White House is appealing to the Supreme Court. At heart of this issue
I'm so happy
is the
about this.
effect that illegal immigrants are having on our economy. What will you do about it?
I was so happy yesterday when I saw that decision come down. That was an unbelievable decision. And we don't have enough of those decisions
Unbelievable,
coming down.
incredible,
He of the executive
amazing,
order because
terrific,
nobody wants to
tremendous.
listen to him, including the Democrats. So he just goes around signing executive orders. That was a great day. And frankly, we have to stop illegal immigration. It's hurting us economically. It's hurting
We're
us
not
from
winning
every
anymore.
standpoint.
And no one says we're
causing
allowing
tremendous
it.
difficulty with respect to drugs and what that does to many of our inner cities in particular. And it really was such an unbelievable moment because the courts have not been ruling in our favor. And it was a 2-1 decision, and it was a terrific thing that happened. And I will tell you, we are a country of laws.
Ooh.
We need borders. We will have a wall. The wall will be built.
Ask Israel.
It will be successful. And if you think walls don't work, all you have to do is ask Israel. The wall works, believe me, properly done.
No Mexicans got into the Israel. The wall kept all the Mexicans out of Israel.
You're going to have to send people out. Look,
So
we're a
what will you
country.
do?
Maria, we're a country of laws.
Laws.
We either have a country or we don't have a country.
Yeah, let's
we are a country of laws.
Let's build our country.
Moron.
Come back.
Let's build our country after the
Have to
plan
go
of
out,
fucking
and hopefully
Israel.
we get back. But we have no choice.
If we
we're
want
going
peace
to run
and success.
our country
Come on,
properly,
dude.
And if we're
Moron.
going to be a country.
Well, we are a country, so
Thank you, sir.
Maria?
What kind of fucking stupid thing is that to say? If we're going to be a country, because we're not already? What the fuck are you talking about?
In 1986, Ronald Reagan basically said the people
Ronald Reagan, drink again.
could stay. What didn't happen is we didn't build the walls effectively, and we didn't control the border. We need to. We need to control our border just like people have to control who goes in and out of their house. But if people think that we are going to ship 11 million people who are law-abiding, who are in this country, and somehow pick them up at their house and ship them out of Mexico to Mexico, think about the families. Think about the children. So,
won't somebody really think of the children?
But it's actually.
But I agree with him.
Yeah.
They get to stay. We protect the wall. Anybody else comes over, they go back. But for the 11 million people, come on, folks. We all know you can't pick them up and ship them back across the border. It's a silly argument. It's not an adult argument. It makes
I like that.
I do too.
You're lucky in Ohio that you struck oil. That's for one thing. Let me just tell you.
I don't know. Natural gas, I think.
Great president. People liked him. I like Ike, right? The expression, I like Ike.
Nobody's old enough to remember.
1.5 million.
And what is he talking about?
Eisenhower.
Out of this country. Moved them just beyond the border, they came back. Moved them again beyond the border, they came back. Didn't like it. Moved them way south, they never came back.
So put them where they in another country
because the distance is all that matters.
Yeah. So we're shipping them to fucking Antarctica.
Yeah,
they moved 1.5 million people out. We have no choice.
That's been fact checked, and it's not true. It wasn't. It wasn't 1.5 million.
Governor Bush. Gerald, it was just. I got what happened to my back? You're not going to have my back. I'm going to have my back. Let me say a couple things here. First of all,
you should let Jeb speak.
We have grown.
No, it's unfair.
You should let Jeb speak.
Hold on.
Wow.
In the state of Ohio,
such a childish
we have grown
group.
347,000 jobs. Our unemployment is half of what it was. Our fracking industry, energy industry, may have contributed 20,000. But if Mr. Trump understood that the real jobs come in the
fracking
downstream,
industry.
not
It sounds
in the
like a
upstream
Utah
and in
term
the
for
downstream.
fracking industry.
I know.
Like the porn industry here in Utah is the fracking industry.
That stupid fracking industry.
False little things, sir. They really don't work when it comes to the truth.
Watch Trump
so
go
the
me, and get
we
booze.
Can't ship 11 million people out of this country. Children would be terrified, and it will not work.
Mr. Trump, you've had a good. Can I let me just
built an unbelievable company worth billions and billions of dollars. I don't have to hear from this man.
I make more than him, so fuck him. That's his view on everything.
I'm at a higher level. Oh, they booed.
Listen to the crowd now.
Yeah, they booed.
They're booing him.
Yeah,
Nice.
they've switched to the other
allowing me to speak.
I'm going to back that up just a second.
Mr. Trump, you yourself.
Let me back that up just a little bit more. That's Trump's answer for everything.
I know.
I make more than you,
Oh, yeah.
so fuck you.
I know, and the funny thing is with Republicans now is that what they loved about Trump at the beginning was that, well, he speaks his mind and he's not a career politician. But now they're so sick of hearing what he has to say. They're like, who's the other guy that's not a career politician? Oh yeah, Ben Carson. That's why he's going up, and they're off Trump now. So which is good.
That's built an unbelievable company worth billions and billions of dollars. I don't have to hear from this man. Believe me.
What an asshole.
Mr. Trump, you yourself said let Governor Bush speak. Governor Bush.
Thank you, Donald, for allowing me to speak at the debate. That's really nice of you. Really appreciate that. What a generous man you are. 12 million illegal immigrants to send them back, 500,000 a month.
To
Sith Lord.
Revenge of the Sith.
And it's not embracing American values. And it would tear communities apart. And it would send a signal that we're not the kind of country that I know America is.
I'm really surprised at how many claps and cheers he's getting for saying stuff like
They're
that.
doing high fives in the Clinton campaign right now when they hear this. That's the problem with this. We have to win the presidency. And the way you win the presidency is to have practical plans. Lay them out there. What we need to do is allow people to earn legal status where they pay a fine, where they work, where they don't commit crimes, where they learn English, and over an extended period of time, they earn legal status. That's the path, a proper path to make this work.
It's probably just inherited. Their hand gestures.
It must be.
Learning from their daddy.
We have
Did he do that?
The neck bob.
Trying to come into this country. Very, very unfair to the people that want to come into our country legally. They've gone through the process. They're online. They're waiting. Very, very unfair to them. That I can tell you.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that slightly.
I'm pretty sure we got that when you fucking told us.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to say that I can tell you.
Have in this country. The economy is undergoing a transformation through information technology. And Americans are anxious that the new economy isn't producing higher
Watching this shit is just soul crushing.
Many are concerned that
and I don't believe in a soul.
That's why I had to grab another beer.
Meanwhile, with factories run by robots and shopping done increasingly on smartphones, many traditional jobs are just going away. How do you reassure American workers that their jobs are not being steadily replaced by machines?
That's an excellent question, because what we are going through in this country is not simply an economic downturn. We are living through a massive economic transformation. I mean, this economy is nothing like what it was like 5 years ago, not to mention 15 or 20 years ago.
Which is good.
And it isn't just a different economy, it's changing faster than ever. You know, it took the telephone 75 years to reach 100 million users. It took Candy Crush 1 year to reach 100 million users.
Did you see that they fucking sold that company for, what was it, like $100-something billion?
It wasn't. I think it was 100. I think it was closer to like 4 billion.
No. It was like $100 billion.
I know it was the highest paid ever for any.
We're in a competition now, and several of the
it was the highest paid app ever.
I just have to say, Marco Rubio also, he always comes across as sharp, smooth, prepared. You know, when I don't agree with almost anything he says.
Oh, 5.9. Sorry, $5.9 billion.
That's what I'm like. I don't think it was 100.
No, yeah. I guess either way, I was just astounded by the
5.9 billion is still a fucking enormous. Yeah.
So Dan read that and he's like, $100 billion.
Or I give you sharks with lasers, laser beams.
Sharks with freaking laser beams on their head. Jesus. I fucked that one up. Sorry, everybody. But still, $5.9 billion for fucking Candy Crush.
That's amazing.
Are you shitting me?
And I think if I remember right, the previous most expensive money ever paid to an app was like 2-point-something billion.
5.9.
Oh my gosh, I have to watch that. Stephen Colbert
awesome.
and Liam Neeson imagine
Candy Crush.
Yeah, it was. I happened to have the TV on when that was on last night. It was really good. Liam Neeson playing the father there. It was good.
Nice.
Ryan sent me that meme going full Carson.
You never go full Carson. Yeah.
All right.
It's good to have a meme generator on your phone.
Back to the debate.
Candidates have said that. There are now dozens of developed economies on this planet that we have to compete with. And we lose that competition because we have the highest business tax rate in the industrialized world. Because we have regulations that continue to grow by the billions every single week.
Because we want to protect.
Because we have a crazy healthcare law that discourages companies from hiring people. But because we're not fully utilizing our energy resources, that if we did, it would bring back all kinds of growth, especially in manufacturing.
More fracking.
And because we have an outdated higher education system. Our higher education system is completely outdated. It is too expensive, too hard to access, and it doesn't teach 21st century skills.
Oh, he went Bernie.
If we do what needs to be done, tax reform, fully
you
utilize
do
our
go
energy
full Bernie.
resources, repeal and replace Obamacare, and modernize higher
He's
education,
complaining about
then we can grasp the potential and the promise of this new economy.
Not
And we
meeting
won't just save the
technological
American
needs
dream,
of students
we will
today.
expand it to reach more people and change
And they keep
more lives
arguing
than
for
ever before.
industrial
And then
type
truly, this new
fucking-
century
I know.
can be a
And
new
he just
American
complained about how fast Candy Crush went to the top.
Senator Cruz, entitlements. You've argued for raising the retirement age and reducing benefits for future retirees. But reducing any sort of benefits for the elderly has always been notoriously hard to do politically.
Because they're the ones who get out and vote.
Yes.
That should send a fucking message to everybody that you need to get out and fucking vote.
Years ago, a liberal group responded with a commercial that featured a granny being pushed off a cliff. What's going to be different this time?
But my mom's here.
Well, my mom is here, so I don't think we should be pushing any grannies off cliffs.
He's not even fucking funny.
What I've said on entitlement reform. What I've said is for seniors, we should make no changes whatsoever. For younger workers
who don't vote.
Gradually raise the retirement age. We should have benefits grow more slowly, and we should allow them to keep a portion of their taxes in a personal account that they control and can pass on to their kids.
I said for future retirees, as you said.
Now, I want to go back to the discussion we had a minute ago because, what was said was right. The Democrats are laughing. Because if Republicans join Democrats as the party of amnesty, we will lose.
You'll lose anyway because you're all fucking nuts.
Fear.
I understand that when the mainstream media covers immigration, it doesn't often see it as an economic issue. But I can tell you,
like
for
your
a
dad
million of Americans at home watching this, it is a very personal economic issue. And I will say the politics of it would be very, very different if a bunch of lawyers or bankers were crossing the Rio Grande.
How is he still running, right? He was born in Calgary. He can't be the president, right?
In the press.
So what the fuck is he doing?
No, his parents were citizens, I believe. So.
Yes, but even if you're a service member and you're born overseas, you're ineligible.
Yeah, he was born in Calgary.
You have to be born within the continental United States in order for president.
And I will say,
I
for
don't
those
think so.
of us
Romney
who
wasn't born in the
United
States.
country
He was
legally,
born in
and we should
Mexico.
enforce the law.
Oh, so his parents were naturalized citizens,
Yeah.
so okay.
But I thought you had to be like. Doesn't matter what.
I'm a fucking cruise birther.
I am the son of an immigrant who came legally from Cuba to seek the American dream. And we can embrace legal immigrations while believing in the rule of law. And I would note,
I want to see
try
Cruz's
going illegally
long
to
form
another
birth
country.
certificate.
Try going to China or
You know what I say for the next debate? We get rid of that dinging buzzer. We put little electrodes on them, so when their time's up, they get fucking shocked.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm done. Okay, I'm over.
Just keep shocking you until they shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like the dog collars.
The wages for millions of hardworking men and women.
It would make it entertaining. They'd maybe stop telling stupid
Just
stories.
to see him struggle to keep talking.
Dwayne Wesley Cato asks
You'd have
on
to put it
Facebook,
somewhere than
how
other
do we
than
get
Cruz's
rid
neck
of
because he'd never feel
regulations
it.
choking our businesses?
His balls. Wait, does he
Ms.
have any?
Fiorina.
No.
Specifically under the President's Affordable Care Act, employers with 50 or more employees are required to offer health
I love
insurance
how all of
or
these
be
are
fined.
begging the question. I mean,
Many
they
are
set up
opting
the
to pay the
presumptive.
fine.
Oh yeah.
They set up the presumptive
Others
conclusion.
are cutting back employee hours to duck the law altogether.
Yeah, and the terminology
What
too.
specific
Like,
ways
what
will
about
you
what about
alleviate
entitlements?
The pressure on small business.
Well, first, Obamacare has to be repealed because it's failing.
You're not going to fucking
It's
do
failing
it.
the very
And if
people
you
it
would have
was
followed the
intended
way
to
it was
help,
set up
but
in the
also
first
it
place,
is
it might be doing
capitalism
better.
at its
It's not
worst.
failing.
Fear.
It's
not a 1-year program.
Companies,
It's a 10-year, 15-year program.
Pharmaceutical companies, and every single one of those kinds of companies are bulking up to deal with
It's a program that looks
See,
into the
that's what
future, not
happens.
now.
As government gets bigger and bigger, and it has been for 50 years.
They argue for
under
capitalism and then
Republicans
shit on
Democrats
the
alike,
capitalist companies.
Businesses have to bulk up to deal with big government. So we have to repeal it. It's tens of thousands of pages long. No one can possibly understand it except the big companies, the lawyers, the accountants, the lobbyists that they hire to protect
The smart
their
people.
interests. Then we have to give back to
we need to make
states
it better for dumb
responsibility to
people.
manage a
That's all we
high-risk
make now.
pool. We need
Yeah,
to
we
try
only
the
want
one
laws
thing in
that
health
fucking
insurance
rednecks
we've
can
never
understand.
tried.
Yes.
Health insurance has always been a cozy little game between regulators and health insurance companies. We need to try the free market.
It is a fucking free market. You have the freedom to choose which company you want to insure with, and those companies are competitive with their pricing.
That you must, and I don't use that term often.
It is a fucking free market.
That every healthcare provider ought to publish its costs, its prices, its outcomes.
That's part of Obamacare.
Yes, it is.
Don't know what we're
And their religious
Now, let me
views.
just say,
All Obamacare is a set of regulations that these insurers have to follow. A amount of coverage they are obligated to give you.
Highly competitive industry in the world.
It is
for
a
decades.
competitive industry.
The truth is,
what the fuck are you talking
the
about?
secret sauce of America
Secret
is
sauce.
innovation and entrepreneurship.
Oh, she knows.
It
Wait,
is
she's had
why
too much
we
of that
must
secret
cut
sauce
our
on her
government
face.
down to size and hold it accountable.
In her
it's
lips.
why we have to take our government back, because innovation
Oh,
and
that's collagen.
entrepreneurship is crushed by the crushing load of a 73,000
It's crushed by the
page
crushing
tax
load.
code.
Yeah, it's
It
her
is
favorite
crushed
word.
by
She's seen a few
regulatory
crushing
thicket
loads in her
that is
day,
so
I'm sure.
vast, we don't even know what's in it anymore.
Yeah,
It
so
is
much she
crushed
can't
as
blink
well
anymore.
by government bureaucrats
Yeah.
who don't do their jobs very well and who are not held accountable, which is why I've said we've got to take our government back.
The
and
bell
to do
rang.
that,
Carly?
To know where every dollar is being spent,
Carly?
to be able to move any dollar.
The bell rang,
We have to
Carly.
hack through this regulatory thicket, repeal so much, but also know what's in
Carly,
that
your time's up.
regulatory thicket. We don't even know what regulations have been passed.
Yes, we do.
So she won't pass it because she doesn't know, but she wants to repeal it because she doesn't know also.
In Wisconsin.
So she's saying she's ignorant.
Finally, we need
There,
to get
Carly,
to
you've
a
been buzzed twice.
3-page tax code.
You've been
and
buzzed
yes,
twice,
that
Carly.
plan exists.
Carly, you're done.
You want to repeal Obamacare, but what's the alternative?
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
this.
what's the alternative? I can't
Just
hear
to
you.
be
Sorry,
clear,
sorry.
you said you would repeal Obamacare, but what is the alternative? And
What
how
I
does
just
that
said,
help small
we need
business?
to give the alternative is to allow states to manage high-risk pools for those who really need help. Look, I'm a cancer survivor. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, but you could afford to fucking have the
cancer just become known
chemo
as
and surgeries done. A lot of people can't, and they go into fucking bankruptcy and out on streets because they can't fucking afford to live.
I also understand that Obamacare isn't helping anyone. We're throwing more
It
and more
is.
people into Medicaid, and fewer doctors are taking those payments.
Yeah, we are putting more people into Medicaid because guess what? Some people can't afford fucking insurance. We need to cover them.
It was intended to help. So let us allow states to manage high-risk pools. Let us try the one thing in health insurance we've never tried. The
You
free
shouldn't have to worry about going to the
Let us
hospital when
ensure
you're
that as
sick because you
patients
can't
and
afford it.
customers, we
She's
have
in
the
love with the
information
free
to shop
hand.
wisely for
Yeah.
our health care.
All right,
You
thank
do
you
get a
all very
shot.
much. We're gonna
There's
take a break
options.
here. Coming up, a
Get a
big
free
issue
hand
many
if you
Americans are facing.
There's plenty of options. It's a free market.
Presidential debate.
The only thing the Affordable Care Act does is lay down regulations in which these fucking people have to follow to give you your insurance. They have a set of standards, like you must follow these standards. Kind of like a highway standard, like your car has to follow certain standards to be on the road. An insurance company has to follow certain standards in order to give you fucking insurance.
Let's take a little break right here for some announcements.
All right.
Coming up just after the announcements, John Kasich goes full Jim Webb.
Full Jim Webb? Some more cockshittery.
Hey friends, this is Callie Wright from the Gaytheist Manifesto podcast, your source for news, commentary, discussion, and debate at the intersection of the atheist movement and the LGBT rights movement. I'm sure I don't have to explain to you that there are many atheists and many members of the LGBT community who don't have a family gathering to go to on Thanksgiving. We are often uninvited, or at the very least made to feel unwelcome by our families because of who we are, who we love, or our lack of belief. If you don't otherwise have a place to go the evening of Thanksgiving this year, please consider joining us for a special live show the evening of Thanksgiving from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be joined by special guests including JT Eberhard and David Smalley, and we'll be taking your calls, tweets, and emails about your family experiences and just hanging out and having a good time with our family here. You have a community out here that cares about you. Come hang out with us. Find out more at facebook.com/thegaytheist manifesto.
Why do you think America is a Christian nation?
That was the creator of everything.
Judeo-Christian belief to be the foundation of our lives.
And I believe God isn't done with America.
And that's the Lord we know.
That was fucking awful.
Yeah, dude. It's fucking
Yeah, dude.
chocolate pancakes, man.
I mean, is that like ass to mouth?
Yeah, I think it's at least that.
Ew. There was some, fuck. I wish I could remember. There was something I thought of.
Hopefully his wife's German.
There was there was something I thought. Oh, that's what it was. I was going to say there was something I was thinking of as I was walking down the hall to take a piss myself. That I should come back in here and tell you guys is that he always fucking comes and crop dusts my cubicle too. Like whenever I'm in the office, he'll stop by my cube and be talking to me, and he'll fart.
Just little
then he's
dick
like,
queefs.
"Oh, geez, sorry about that. Oh, geez, did you hear that? Mouse on a motorcycle. Or, so did you hear what that butthole said? Blah, blah, blah. Just something stupid."
Next time he does it, you should be like, "I smell semen."
So whenever he does it, though, I'm thinking, did that come out of your ass or out of your dick?
Right.
Dick farts.
Oh man, dick farts.
That's horrible.
It is. It's terrible.
That's
I don't know what else to say about it. Then it's creepy and it fucking terrifies me. That that's really a thing.
Could you imagine that?
That's something that can fucking happen to you. Is that you can piss or you can shit out of your dick.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm worried, like, next time I fall down and get hurt, am I going to shit out of my dick? It is possible, apparently. I don't want to get hurt to the point where I shit out of my dick.
You get a perforated bowel, I guess. Maybe.
And I don't know, man. That would be. It would. Well, wouldn't it? It would squeak, wouldn't it? Like the urethra, like
like a balloon.
Like you could pinch it, make little, stretch it out, make little squeaky sounds, change the pitch. All right, let's get back into this.
This has got to be called dick farts, right? This
dick
one.
Farts. Republicans and dick farts.
Welcome back to the
We're gonna go down to like 20,000 listeners for this one.
The question we want to touch on, obviously,
Just from the title.
The biggest this issue in this year, taxes, and this will go to several of you. One of the biggest economic concerns, of course, in the country are taxes. Facebook data certainly backs that up. Once again, the green on this map that we're going to see here shows how the conversation around taxes is resonating across the nation, especially here in Wisconsin. First off, Dr. Carson, to you, you say you are in favor of a tax system.
Carson doesn't even know where he is right now.
With a flat tax rate of up to 15%, because you said, if everybody pays this, I think God is a pretty fair guy, so tithing is a pretty fair process.
Pretty fair guy who kills everybody.
And also illegal in politics.
Should pay a higher rate because it's a fair thing to do. So whose plan would God endorse then, Doctor? Yours or Mr. Trump's?
Well, when I say tithing, I'm talking about the concept of proportionality.
Right.
Everybody should pay the same proportion of what they make. You make $10 billion, you pay $1 billion. You make $10, you pay $1. You get the same rights and privileges.
Yeah, because everybody makes here, or there are people who make $10 per year.
But you also have to get rid of all the deductions and all the loopholes, because that's the thing that tilts it in one direction or another.
No, it's not.
And you have to set the rate at an appropriate level. Now,
are loopholes like the church?
I will say that there are a lot of people.
The poop hole loophole.
The poop hole. Get rid of the deductions.
The dick hole loopholes. Wait, what?
The American dream, because home mortgage deduction. But the fact of the matter is, people had homes,
and such as in the IRACs,
1913, when we introduced the federal income tax, and later after that started deductions. And they say there'll be no more charitable giving. We had churches before that.
He's just a moron.
Organizations before that. The fact of the matter is, I believe if you put more money in people's pockets, that they will actually be more generous rather than less generous.
Bullshit. Yeah, look at the millionaires and billionaires that we have now.
Yeah.
Are they more generous?
Yeah. I do care about the poor people, and in the system that we're putting together, there will be a rebate for people at the poverty level. But I also want to emphasize the fact that as we get the economy moving, and I hope I get a question about how do we get the economy moving, there
just
will
throw
be
it in there,
a lot more opportunities for poor people.
Jesus, I want to fall asleep just listening to
because
this guy.
This is America. This is the land of dreams.
Not really. I mean, I don't want that.
Allowing
but it seems like it's bound to happen.
Thank you very much.
This is what I want to fall asleep to.
Senator
Wake
Paul,
up with this on my dream machine.
Wake up with a shit dick.
Over with an across the board 14.5% fair and flat tax. You happily offer that it is not revenue neutral.
Were you wearing your underwear backwards?
Choke off the amount of
no, I just shit my dick.
But don't you risk creating a near-term budget crisis just as your presidency would be beginning?
Well, it's a great question, Neil, and thanks for including me in the tax debate. I think what's important about the tax debate is that we have to ask the question, where is money
They'll
best
complain
spent?
about not getting enough time,
sector and
but
the
if they weren't all fucking running, they would have more time.
Really small. So small you can barely see it. So I want lower taxes and much more money
So
in the
small it
private
could fit in
sector.
your vagina.
Yeah. His vagina.
My tax plan, however, is the only tax plan among any of the candidates on the stage that is part of a balanced budget plan. I put forward 3 plans that actually balance the budget over a 5-year period. Each of these
that's
plans
better than
have
Kasich. He said 8
details on
years.
exactly where we'd cut. The question came up earlier, where would you cut?
He'd still have to be
Nobody
elected to a
likes
second
say
term.
where
Yes.
they would cut.
Yes.
I put pencil to
They're
paper
too
and
afraid to
done
say they
3
can do it in
budgets
one
that
term.
actually balance. I'm also in favor of a plan called the penny plan, where we'd just cut 1% across the board, and that budget actually balances in less than 5 years. So I think what's extraordinary about my tax plan is it is in the context of balancing the budget. What's also extraordinary about my tax plan is it gets rid of the payroll tax.
The payroll tax, which goes towards Medicare and your Social Security fund.
Would get a bigger tax cut than someone making $10,000.
That's all it goes to.
That's proportionality.
That's all it does.
as Ben's
It's for your
trying
Social
to
Security and
explain to
Medicare.
folks.
The
But
payroll
thing
tax,
is,
that's it.
If we get rid of the payroll tax, everybody's going to get a tax cut. And this is something that I think...
And they will get no Social Security or Medicare.
And could win an election.
Well, that one's paid by the employer.
Under your plan?
Ours is 14.5% for corporations, 14.5% for individuals, no payroll tax for the employee, the business tax pays for Social Security, and there would be 2 remaining deductions, home mortgage and charity.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Sure, I'd love you to say one thing real quick.
My one thing is I would not mind at all paying 25% of my pay into taxes, as long as every single one of the things that gets deducted from that goes to social welfare for my future, for my Social Security, my Medicare in the future, my state, my federal taxes, my health insurance, and any other thing that's going to come out of a social program. So if I go to the hospital, I don't pay a dime.
I figured out that I actually bring home in my net pay right about 28%
of your actual
of my gross pay.
Yeah,
the rest of it goes toward taxes.
Yeah.
And
28%?
My retirement, because I'm putting quite a bit into retirement.
Yeah. Okay.
And my medical insurance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when it comes down to it, of my gross pay, I actually bring home about 28-30%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I figured I did it a couple years ago, but 2 years ago, just in state and federal taxes, I'm being taxed at an 18% rate.
Yeah.
And that did not include Medicare, Social Security, or my retirement fund.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm at about 50 with no retirement.
Yeah, and so I would be happy to pay 60%, 70% in taxes if I knew that money was going to be returned to me someday.
Yeah, sure.
In the form of Social Security nets.
Are we talking like a country
healthcare,
like Sweden?
Yeah, if I would be happy to pay, an extra however much percent every fucking time.
Yeah.
If I knew that was going to single payer account health insurance where I didn't have a copay, I didn't have
I can get the proper medications I need when I need them.
Yeah, I didn't have any kind of deductible. I could go and see whatever doctor I needed to go and see. If I had to pay that extra 10 or 15%, not a fucking problem to me at all. Cut out all of the insurance companies, have it be a single payer plan where all of that money was going to provide me the things that I need to live a healthy life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I actually, I didn't add all the whole numbers in, but if you tax everybody at a 40% rate, everybody I think would actually get more money in their fucking paychecks for not having to pay into their fucking health care and all their other shit.
Or keep the tax rates what they are for individuals.
I just
tax the churches and then institute all the programs you guys are talking about with that money because you'd have surplus.
Yeah. Well, my thing is I have no problem paying taxes, a flat tax, as long as it covers fucking everything, including my medical and a retirement fund.
And I just realized too, I didn't want to overstate that enough or too much because I also, of the portion that I bring home, I take, a large portion and put that aside for my house payment every month. So actually, I bring home probably right about 45-50% of my gross pay. I bring home, and then that extra money I set aside for the house payment.
I think when I looked at mine, I usually pay right around between $2,000 and $2,500 in taxes.
Yeah, so when I said 28-30%, that doesn't include my house payment.
Yeah.
So if I include the house payment, it's about 45-50% that I actually bring home.
Yeah, I'm actually paying more than double in taxes now than I made take home in the military.
Yeah. Yeah, I pay more in taxes. I mean, if you include Social Security,
Social Security and Medicare and all the other retirement benefit programs.
I pay more into that now than I made at the first job that I had.
Yeah.
Right.
Senator Cruz, there isn't anyone in this audience or watching at home tonight who would not like to pay less in taxes. Most people just want a fair shake, and they don't want their money to be wasted. But explain how your plan works. How can you cut taxes as much as you propose without running up debt and deficits?
You can't.
Well, sure, and you put your finger on what the problem is. The current system isn't fair. Washington is fundamentally corrupt. There are more words in the IRS code than there are in the Bible. And not a one of them is...
Oh, my God!
And not
Using
a one.
the Bible as a yardstick for word count.
Did he say that not a one of them is true?
No, good.
Oh, good.
Not one of them is good.
Using the Bible as a yardstick for word count.
Can we take, we got going Godwin. Can we make another term for like going biblical, like
going Yahweh?
Going Godwin?
No,
going Godwin.
Well, I mean, when we say going Godwin, we're always talking about like, oh, you're referring to Hitler.
Going Yahweh?
I just want to like maybe name it going cruise.
Oh.
Going on a cruise.
Up, debt and
going
deficits.
McCarthy.
Well, sure, and you put your finger on what the problem is. The current
It's
system
not the prostate.
isn't fair. Washington is fundamentally corrupt. There are more words in the IRS
You're not
code
sweeping the cog.
than there are in the Bible. And not a one of them is as good.
Or he said as good.
Every one
Many
of them
are the
reflects
same.
a carve-out or a
So, yeah.
subsidy, and it's all about empowering the Washington cartel. My simple flat tax says that
The
for a
Washington
family of four,
cartel?
for the first $36,000 you earn,
Is this
You
another,
work for them.
taxes
You are part of the
whatsoever. No
Washington
income taxes,
cartel.
no payroll
is
taxes.
this another
no
10%
nothing.
tax?
Above that, every American pays 10% across the
Of course
board,
it
a
is.
flat, fair tax, which means that no longer do you have hedge fund billionaires paying a lower tax rate than their secretaries. On the business side, I've got a business flat tax of 16%.
Which neither
Again,
one
that
pays
applies across the
10%
board.
currently,
Right now with our corporate
jackass.
tax,
Yeah.
giant corporations with armies of accountants
For one,
regularly are
if
paying
everyone
little
pays
to
less
no
taxes and they're
taxes,
currently
while
being
small
taxed at, and
businesses
you
are
still
getting
think we're going to
hammered.
resolve
This is fair
the
across
debt
the board.
problem,
They ask, how do the
you're
numbers
fucking
add up?
nuts.
Yeah.
I would encourage folks, if you go to our website, tedcruz.org, we have the specific numbers on the website. This
You can't even do math.
eliminates the payroll tax, eliminates the death tax, eliminates the corporate income tax, and it abolishes the IRS.
No, I am in favor of getting rid of
And
certain
somehow
taxes.
they'll still get money.
The effect of that is incredible economic growth. It means every income group will see double-digit increases from the very
Double-digit?
poorest to the very weakest.
I'm going to get 10 extra dollars?
14%. So if you're a single mom, if
He's
you're
so
making
full of shit that his
$40,000
hair is
a year,
brown.
what that means is an extra about $5,000 in your pocket to provide for your kids.
He's just lying.
To make ends meet. It has
He's
a
just lying.
powerful effect.
Oh, no, because I think later on he says he wants to increase
of my plan.
the
is that it's border
tax credit you get for having families.
Like, even the dumbest of Republicans should be able to spot that he's just lying. Right? I mean, the math just doesn't line up.
Doesn't work.
The dumbest of Republicans?
But all
Well,
imports.
Those ones don't do math.
Then it just doesn't fucking line up.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have Coco the gorilla vote than some of the dumbest of
You know what? I love Coco.
Yeah.
Coco got a new cat.
On a level
she-
playing field.
Dude, she can speak over 1,000 words in sign language. Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
That's more than Donald Trump.
I know.
Way more than the average Republican.
I want to see Coco on stage. I'll vote Coco. Coco for the Republican nomination.
Team Coco.
Team Coco. Not Conan O'Brien. Well, Conan O'Brien would be funny too, because he's also called Team Coco.
$768 billion. It is less than $1 trillion. It costs less than virtually every other plan people have put up here, and yet it produces more growth, and it's one of the very few plans that abolishes the IRS. But on top of that,
and somehow they would still get money. How
we
does that
rolled
work?
out a spending plan, $500 billion.
We get rid of the agency that brings in money, and we get money.
He has to know that's not possible. It's a talking point because people are like, oh, we'll keep our money.
The Department of Commerce and HUD. And then 25 specific programs. Again, that's on our website at tedcruz.org. You want to look
It's
at
the
specificity?
Internal Revenue
It's easy
Service.
for anyone to say, cut spending. It's much harder and riskier to put out chapter and verse, specifically the programs you would cut to stop bankrupting our kids and grandkids.
Thank you, Senator.
To start bankrupting our kids and grandkids, I mean?
Governor Bush,
What a moron.
Republican primary voters say tax reform should be a priority for Congress and the administration. But Governor Bush, how important is tax reform in your domestic policy agenda? Will you guarantee it in the first year of your presidency?
I'm going to fight as hard as I can to make sure that we shift power away from Washington, simplify the tax code to spur economic activity in this country. Of course, it's the highest priority. If we don't do that, we're stuck with the new normal of 2% growth. Hillary Clinton says, basically, we just got to get used to it. 2% growth means declining income for the middle class. It means more than 6 million people are stuck in poverty than the day that Barack Obama was inaugurated. It means It means more demands on government. Growing the economy is the first job if we're going to be serious about dealing with the deficit and debt. And more importantly, people are really struggling right now. In this economy, the disposable
So we
income
shouldn't raise
of
the
great
wages
middle
that
is
they
down
make for the menial
$2,300
jobs they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've created jobs. Gerard, you brought that up early it was a good question. Jobs are being created, but they're lower income jobs than the
Because
jobs
you
that
won't
were
raise
lost.
the fucking
And the net
minimum
effect of this
wage.
is we need to jumpstart the economy. I think of Jonathan and Reagan Love.
I think a minimum
who
wage
are
increase would
supporters
jumpstart
of
the
mine.
economy quite
Jonathan
well.
has been deployed by the National Guard. He's in Oklahoma. Reagan Love, by the way, pretty great name, I think.
Reagan Love,
is a
the Reagan
teacher.
again drink.
If they had this tax cut, what they told me was that $2,300 of money in their pocket, they would go back to South Carolina and start a business. Imagine what it would be like instead of having more businesses closed than started, we had it the exact opposite. We would grow our economy and the government would get the revenue necessary to make things better. Hillary Clinton's approach to this is more top down, more regulation, more taxes, more government, and it will destroy our economy.
Thank you, Governor.
Senator Rubio. Can I just come to Senator Rubio? We're coming to you, Mr. Trump, in 1 second, I promise. Senator Rubio, your tax plan includes a large expansion of child tax credits to raise after-tax incomes for low-income parents. A similar tax credit that you previously proposed in the Senate was estimated to cost as much as $170 billion a year, according to the Tax Foundation. Isn't there a risk that you're just adding another expensive entitled program to an already overburdened federal budget?
The most important job I'm ever going to have, the most important job anyone in this room will ever have, is the job of being a parent. Not the job of being president, or the job of being a senator, or the job of being a congressman. The most important job any of us will ever do is the job of being a president, because the most important institution of society is the family.
President.
If the family breaks down,
He needs
society
water. He
breaks
doesn't know
down.
what
You
he's
can't
talking
have a
about.
strong nation without strong values. And no one is born with strong values. They have to be taught to you in strong families and reinforced in
Definitely not in church.
strong communities.
I don't know if that's true.
And so when we set out to do tax reform, we endeavored to have a
And what
pro-family
values?
tax code. And we endeavored to do it because we know how difficult it is for families in the 21st century to afford the cost of living. It is expensive to raise children in the 21st century.
To raise children.
And families that are raising children are raising
Rage
the
against the
future
kids.
taxpayers of the United States. And everything costs more.
And our
In
policies
35
will
out
make
of
it even
50
harder
states,
to rage
childcare
against
costs more
children.
than college. There are millions of people watching this.
Well, you got to pay
broadcast tonight
child care
that
for a lot
understand
longer than you go to
exactly what I'm
college.
talking about.
Yeah.
They don't know how they're going to make that payment every month. And if they can't make it, they can't work because someone needs to watch their kids during the day. They don't know how they're going to save for their kids' future to go to college.
Oh,
And
why don't we
yes, I have
increase
a
the
child
fucking
tax
money they
credit
make?
increase, and I'm proud of it. I am proud that I have a pro.
How about we let those kids go to college for free?
Yeah,
and increase the minimum wage so they
the
can
most
afford
important
stuff.
institution
Sounds
in the
good to
family
me.
in the country.
Oh,
the
Bernie.
family.
Neil, there's a point I'd like to make here. Neil, a point that I'd like to make about the tax credits. We have to decide what is conservative and what isn't conservative.
Here we go.
Is it fiscally conservative to have $1 trillion expenditure? We're not talking about giving people back their tax money. He's talking about giving people money they didn't pay.
Yes.
It's a welfare transfer payment. So here's what we have. Is it conservative to have $1 trillion in transfer payments, a new welfare program that's a refundable tax credit? Add that to Marco's plan for $1 trillion in new military spending, and you get something that looks to me not very conservative.
Thank you. Governor
I want to kind of clap for Rand.
I know.
I get to respond.
Very, very quickly, Senator.
No, I get my 60 seconds to respond. He's talking about my tax plan. So let me begin with this.
He said some
Let me
shit
tell you
about
how to
me.
do your
First of
job,
all, this
Mr.
is their
Moderator.
They do pay. It is refundable, not just against the taxes they pay to the government, but also on their federal income tax. It's refundable against the payroll tax. Everyone.
Oh, the
pays
payroll tax you want to get rid of?
This is their money. This is not our money. And here's what I don't
Word.
understand. If you invest that money in a piece of equipment, if you invest that money in a business, you get to write it off your taxes. But if you invest it in your children, in the future of America, in strengthening your family, we're not going to recognize that in our tax code. The family is the most important institution in
Nevertheless,
society.
it's
and
not
yes,
very
I
How will
do
you
want
do
to
that
rebuild
without the
American
IRS?
military.
I don't know.
Rand is a committed isolationist. I'm not. I believe the world is a stronger and a better place when the United States is the strongest military power in the world.
Marco,
We are the strongest military power in the world.
how is it conservative to add $1 trillion expenditure for the federal government that you're not
Because-
paying for? How is it
Are you talking about the military,
conservative?
Rand?
How is it conservative to add $1 trillion in military expenditures? You cannot be a conservative if you're going to keep promoting new programs that you're not going to pay for.
I may respond more quickly.
Very quickly, Senator.
We can't even have an economy if we're not safe. There are radical jihadists beheading people and
total
crucifying
non sequitur.
Christians. A radical Shia cleric in Iran trying to get a
In Iran.
More fear.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what always works with the base. Go right
Fearmonger
to fear.
Warhawks.
No, I don't believe. I know that the world is a safer and better place when America is the strongest military power in the world.
And I don't want you leading it.
He's so slick, he knows that the base responds to fear. Because he did not answer that at all.
Any safer from bankruptcy court. As we go further and further into debt, we become less and less safe. This is the most important thing we're going to talk about tonight. Can you be a conservative and be liberal on military spending? Can you be for unlimited military spending and say, oh, I'm going to make the country safe? No, we need a safe country. But you know, we spend more on our military than the next 10 countries combined.
Yeah.
I want a strong national defense, but I don't want us to be bankrupt.
Well, and there is
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I agree with him there.
It was good, but the problem is all of his caveman audience are like, fire bad, Rubio good.
Well, and it was good in that, yeah, we do spend a whole lot more for our military, but why do we spend a whole lot more?
Because we're constantly going to war with Republican presidents.
And because we're contributing all of these funds to capitalist organizations and companies.
Right.
We're not doing it from the governmental level. We're paying companies to do this shit.
Oh, yeah. You know how I said earlier where if I went on a 6-month deployment, I might make $7,000? A contractor would make $10,000 in 1 month.
Yeah, we're paying contracting companies to do our defense for us.
And that was a contractor working the same job I was working.
It's not the government doing our defense. It's our government paying companies to do our defense.
Exactly. And also paying companies like Boeing and Lockheed
when we spend
to
as
make
much
our shit to do our job.
Yeah. When we spend as much in Iraq in 3 days as we spent for the entire fucking budget for NASA, something's fucked up there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
which is that it is exactly right.
Or minimum wage.
We have to defend this nation. You think defending this nation is expensive?
We spend more money in Iraq in 1 day than we give for the entire funding of fucking the VA.
You can do that.
Fear.
Pay for it. You can do that and also be fiscally responsible. You know, I mentioned the 25 programs that I put out today that I would eliminate them. Among them are corporate welfare like sugar subsidies. Let's take
sugar subsidies,
like paying corporations.
We
like
need more diabetes.
Boeing and
more diabetes.
Roughly 0.2%
what about politician
of the farmland in
salaries?
America, and yet they give 40% of the lobbying money. That sort of corporate welfare is why we're bankrupting our kids and grandkids. I would end those subsidies to pay for defending this nation.
Senator, we need to move on.
This is why we must combine, actually, zero-based budgeting with tax reform. Because unless we can examine and cut and move every single dollar of discretionary spending in the federal government, we cannot reform taxes.
She doesn't understand what discretionary funding is.
Ask yourself this question. How is it possible that the federal government gets more money each and every year, which the federal government has been doing, receiving more money every year for 50 years under Republicans and Democrats alike, and yet never has enough money to do the important things? The answer, all the money's always spoken for. All the money's spoken for. So we have to go to zero-based budgeting, which is a simple idea. By the way, there's been a bill for zero-based budgeting. It exists. It can be voted on. Every dollar must be examined. Any dollar can be cut. Any dollar can be moved. We have to go to a 3-page tax code. You lower every rate. You close every loophole. Why? Because the government uses the tax code.
It's going to take more than 3 pages to cut loopholes.
You have to strip the corruption
way
out
more
of
than
the tax
3
code to pay for it. You have to know where every single dollar is being spent.
In order to cut the loopholes, it's going to read like a
Cut where
Stephen
you
King
need to
novel.
And invest where you
like
need
it.
to.
It's going to be 1,000 pages.
We do need to move on. Mr. Trump, the U.S. has just...
if I might,
very quickly.
We have to make our military bigger, better, stronger than
it is.
before, so that nobody messes with us, and in the long run, it's going to save us. I agree with Marco. I agree with Ted. We have no choice. And
when was the last time
is anybody messing with us?
No. When was the last time a military power?
Is anybody threatening to invade the United States?
The last person that did, the last country that did was Britain.
Better than the mess that we have.
Japan.
Right now. Let's talk about.
They weren't invading. They just bombed.
I really must move on.
They also fought a land war in
Let's talk about the
Alaska
international economy. The U.S. has
during World War II.
Governor, please.
They had boots on the ground.
We really need to move on.
I count it.
No, Governor, I promise I would come to you.
Look, I hate to crash the party, Mr. Baker, but you know what's fair.
I hate to crash the party, but I'm a Republican and I'm all about crashing the party.
Jim, nice.
Trade.
Very nice.
I shot a guy.
Yeah.
You've said that you'd rather have no deal than sign the one that's on the table.
It's a horrible
Most
deal.
economists say that trade has boosted growth, and every single post-war president has supported the expansion of international trade, including the last 3 Republican presidents. Why would you reverse more than 50 years of U.S. trade policy?
The TPP is a horrible
The TP.
deal. It is a deal
Toilet
that is
paper.
going to
Toilet
lead
paper
to
product.
nothing but
Toilet paper
trouble.
products.
It's a deal that was designed for China to come in, as they always do, through the back door and totally take
China comes
advantage
through
of
your back door
everyone.
all the time, Trump.
It's 5,600 pages long. So complex that nobody's read it.
They
It's
only
like
talk about
Obamacare.
fucking
Nobody ever
page
read it.
count.
They
Yeah.
passed it,
Yeah.
Nobody read it. Had to look at the mess we have right now.
I don't
Will
read.
Be repealed.
Yeah.
But
I
this
hire a
is
man
one
to
of the
read for me.
worst trade deals, and I would, rather not have it. With all of these countries and all of the bad ones getting advantage and taking advantage of what the good ones would normally get, I'd rather make individual deals with individual countries. We will do much better. We lose a fortune on trade. The United States loses with everybody. We're losing now
We're
over
losers.
$500
Fucking losers.
million in terms of imbalance.
Greatest
with China.
country in the world of
$75
losers.
billion dollars a
Is
year
that a Nirvana song?
imbalance with Japan. By the way, Mexico, $50 billion a year imbalance. So I must say, Gerard, I just think it's a terrible deal. I love trade. I'm a free trader 100%. But
Well, nothing's free with
smart
you.
people making the deals, and we don't have smart people making the deals.
The deal, as you say,
This isn't deal or no deal.
were published
Smart people
just
like
last
you.
week. The detailed 5,000 pages of it, and 80% of U.S.
Smart
trade
people
with
making the
countries in
deals that would
Pacific now,
bankrupt
these
their
countries, these
company
11
Yeah.
four
is actually
times.
tariff-free, and the trade deal only affects
Then
the other 20%.
utilize the loopholes he wants to close so they can make more billions.
Regulation they don't discuss in the agreement, which is a disaster. If you look at the way China and India and almost everybody takes advantage of the United States, China in particular, because they're so good. It's the number one abuser of this country. And if you look at the
They're
way they
terrific
take
at it.
advantage,
Yeah.
it's through
It's
currency
tremendous.
Next to
manipulation.
Republicans.
They keep
It's not
spanking
even
us.
discussed in the almost 6,000 page
Incredible.
agreement. It's not even discussed.
There was a separate-
and as you
separate
understand, I mean, you understand very well from the Wall Street Journal, currency manipulation is the single great weapon people have. They don't even discuss it in this agreement. So I say it's a very bad deal, should not be approved. If it is approved, it'll just be more bad trade deals, more loss of jobs for our country. We are losing jobs like nobody's ever lost jobs before.
No,
I want
we're
to bring
not.
jobs back into this
We
country.
lost jobs worse than this in the Depression,
we
Yes.
might want to point out China's not part of
In
this
early
deal.
2000s.
and in the recession from George
Yeah.
W. Bush.
Here, Randfall.
What do you say?
Did you?
Before we get a little
I missed it.
Isn't that
jobs
my
back
bad.
into this country.
Hey, Gerard, you know, we might want to point out China's not part of this deal.
Nice.
Before we get a little bit off kilter
Isn't that part of the problem, if I may say, Senator, that if this deal is not ratified by the US, by the Senate, then it would actually give China an opportunity to grow
Like, oh, wait, we're not
its
going to commercial
economic
break?
leadership, which it's been seeking to do. And if the US
Way to
is
turn that
unable
back
to
to
take part in this
Trump's
trade deal
position.
with these countries in Asia, China will take the lead.
There is an argument that China doesn't like the deal because in us doing the deal, we'll be trading with their competitors. You're exactly right. But I think we've sort of missed the point a little bit here. There is an important point, though, about how we discuss these trade treaties that I do agree with Mr. Trump on. We should negotiate from a position of strength. And we also should negotiate.
They were
going to
go to commercial and we're like,
the
fuck it.
constitutional power that was given to us. I think it's a mistake that we give up power to the presidency on these trade deals. We give up the power to filibuster, and I'm kind of fond of that power. We give up the power to amend.
Nothing to be proud
and
of.
I think really
Yeah.
one of the big problems we have in our country is over the last century, really, so much power has gravitated to the executive branch. Really, Congress is kind of a bystander. We don't write the rules. We don't make the laws. The executive branch does. So even in trade, and I am for trade, I think we should be careful about giving so much power to the presidency.
Thank you. Thanks, Senator.
So would you renounce all of those powers upon gaining the presidency?
You're watching the Republican presidential debate live tonight.
I'm sure he would not. He'd be all for keeping every bit of it.
Welcome back.
That was a crazy quick
Welcome back
commercial
to the
break.
Republican presidential debate. The candidates taking the questions you want answered. Also tonight, you can see what America is saying about the debate. Go to Facebook and type hashtag GOP debate into the search box. Now back to the questions. Americans face security threats at home and abroad. Last year, terrorist attacks rose 61%, according to the Institute for Economics and Peace, with the most deaths occurring in just 5 countries: Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Syria.
So in countries with war,
all religious countries,
You were against putting troops on the ground in Iraq
theocratic countries.
and against a large military
I love this
force in
response.
Afghanistan.
This is great.
Do you
this is
support
priceless.
the president's decision
This is priceless.
to now put 50 special ops forces in Syria and leave 10,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan?
Well, putting the special ops people in there is better than not having them there because that's why they're called special ops.
That's why they're called special ops.
Guide some of the other things that we're doing.
This guy is running for fucking president, everybody.
Fucking
dumb.
Really spread his influence.
Whoops. Jesus fucking Christ.
This is going to be
You think Vladimir Putin is going to respect this guy for 2 seconds?
Him there in an effective
Jesus
We
Christ.
also must recognize that it's a very complex place.
He's a teddy bear.
The Chinese are there as well as the Russians, and you have all kinds of factions there. What we've been doing so far is very ineffective, but we can't give up ground right there. But we have to look at this on a much more global scale. We're talking about global jihadists, and their desire is to destroy us and to destroy our way of life. So we have to be saying, how do we make them look like losers? Because that's the way that they're able to gather a lot of influence. And I think in order to make them look like losers, we have to destroy their caliphate.
We have to give them more special ops.
We have to destroy the caliphate.
Yeah.
50 more special ops is better than not having them.
There's a big energy
Caliphate.
Take that from them, take all of that land from them. We could do that, I believe, fairly easily. I've learned from talking to several generals.
Yeah, and generals have been wrong in the past.
From there, but you have to continue to face them because our goal is not to contain them, but to destroy them before they destroy us.
Fear, fear, fear.
We asked Facebook to take a look at some of the major issues we're talking about and tackling in this debate tonight. This word cloud shows what people are focusing on the most. The bigger the word,
That doesn't look very much like a cloud.
one of the most discussed issues in the last month, Homeland Security. Governor Bush, what is the biggest
I like how
threat
food stamps
facing
and
America
government
today?
shutdown are tiny little words.
It's got to be. This has got to be by Republicans.
It is.
Back to the question of what we are dealing with in Iraq. When we pull back, voids are filled. That's the lesson of history. And sadly, this president does not believe in American leadership. He does not believe it, and the net result is that we have a caliphate the size of Indiana. That
So
gains
let's
energy
stay
each and every
in
day.
every country
Recruit
the size of
Americans
Indiana.
in our own country.
So
And the
let's
threat to
stay
the
in
homeland
every
relates
country
to the fact that
forever.
we've not dealt with this threat of terror in the Middle East. We
Your
should have a
brother
no-fly
didn't,
zone
right?
in
Is that what you're
Syria.
saying? 'Cause-
we should have support for the remnants of the Syrian
He had
Free
8
Army
years.
and create safe zones. If you want to deal with the 4 million refugees
But his brother
that are-
kept us
that
safe.
are leaving
Yeah.
Syria
Oh, yeah.
because of,
Through
because
9/11,
of the
of course.
devastation
Right.
there, then we ought to create safe zones for them to stay in the region rather than go to Europe. And that requires American leadership. Without American leadership, every other country in the neighborhood begins
talking
to
about?
change their priorities.
That's not our
It is
neighborhood.
tragic that you see Iraq.
None of
and
that
other
is our
countries
neighborhood.
Now talking to Russia. It wasn't that long ago. Russia had no influence in the region at all. So the United States needs to lead across the board. This president and Hillary Clinton both do not believe that the United States has a leadership role to play, and we're now paying a price, and it will have a huge impact on the economy of this country if we don't deal with this.
You're a moron.
Mr. Trump,
Tap
in a
applause.
2012 debate, President Obama mocked Mitt Romney's assertion that Russia was the top geopolitical challenge facing the United States, saying he was a Cold War dinosaur.
Like a fish.
Now, Russia has invaded Ukraine and has put troops in Syria. You have said you will have a good relationship with Mr. Putin. So what does President Trump do
son is over
in
there.
response to Russia's aggression?
Well, first of all, it's not only Russia. We have problems with North Korea where they actually have nuclear weapons. You know, nobody talks about it. We talk about Iran, and that's one of the worst deals ever made.
North Korea has nuclear weapons. They also have missiles that could reach the West Coast.
And it's a disgrace.
Maybe.
But
no, definitely.
we have somebody over there, a madman who
They're
already
Typo
has
Dong.
nuclear weapons.
Typo Dong?
That's
Typo Dong 2, I believe.
Oh,
the twos,
the two dong is fucking crazy.
South China Sea. I mean, they are becoming a very, very major force. So we have more than just Russia. But as far as the Ukraine is concerned, and you could say Syria, as far as Syria, I like if Putin wants to go in, and I got to know him very well because we were both on 60 Minutes. We were stablemates.
But you weren't in the same
very
country.
well in 60 Minutes.
Well, he was on 60 Minutes, but he was on the same episode. But they're both in different countries airing.
And I can't understand how anybody would.
That was proven as false.
They blew up. Hold it. They blew up. Wait a minute. They blew up a Russian airplane. He cannot be in love with these people. He's going in, and we can go in, and everybody should go in. As far as the Ukraine is concerned, we have a group of people and a group of countries, including Germany, tremendous economic behemoth. Why are we always doing the work? I'm all for protecting Ukraine and working, but we have countries that are surrounding the Ukraine that aren't doing anything.
I don't know.
They say, keep going, keep going.
I've served with a lot of other countries.
Keep going, protect us. And we have to get
Europeans,
smart. We can't continue
Germans,
to be
Romanians,
the
Australians,
of the world. We owe
Japanese.
$19 trillion. We have a country that's going to hell. We have an infrastructure that's falling apart.
Yeah,
our
they just don't get the
roads, our
recognition they
bridges,
get.
Our schools, our airports.
Well, they're not
and we have to start
No, we are definitely contributing way more, have way more soldiers there, but they're still trying to do their part.
He is absolutely wrong on this. We're not going to be the world's policeman, but we sure as heck better be the world's leader. There's a huge difference where without us,
I can agree with that. We don't need to be the world's policeman.
And the idea that it's a good idea
Especially
for Putin
not
to be
American
in Syria,
police.
let ISIS take out Assad.
Well,
and then
if you want to kill
take out
everybody.
ISIS. I mean, that's like a board game. That's like playing Monopoly.
Well,
or
it's
something.
funny
That's
because
not
the
how
American
real
police
world
kill
works.
more people than the
We have
military is
to lead.
allowed
We
to
have
now.
To be involved.
Yeah.
Gotta wait
We should
till
have
you
a
fire it
no-fly
on.
zone in Syria. They are barrel bombing the innocents in that country. If you're a Christian, increasingly in Lebanon or Iraq or Syria, you're going to be beheaded.
It doesn't matter if you're Christian.
If you're
and you know
what the fuck is
you know what?
Islamist, you're not going to be able
If
to
you're-
survive
oh
in
my
Syria.
God.
Being Christian has nothing to fucking do with it.
He just said if you are a Christian there, you will be beheaded.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm a lot more willing to grant persecution in the Middle East for Christians than I am over fucking red Starbucks cups in this country.
Yeah,
So
sure,
fucking
But
fuck off.
everyone who
He
is
said if you're a Christian,
non-Islamic,
you will be beheaded.
Yeah.
no, you won't. You won't. Will be.
Yeah, no,
But
you
everyone
won't
who
will be.
opposes,
You definitely won't will be.
you
But
definitely won't will be, but you will be if you
You might
oppose the
could be.
Islamic State.
Yeah, you-
Anybody who opposes the Islamic State over there pretty much gets killed.
yeah, you definitely won't will be, but you
No.
might could be.
I mean, you might could be.
ISIS take out Assad, and then
Asshole.
Putin will take out ISIS. And that's like a board game. That's like playing Monopoly or something.
admit.
That's not how the real world works. We have to lead. We have to be involved. We should have a no-fly zone in Syria. They're barrel bombing the innocents in that country.
No.
If you're a Christian, increasingly in Lebanon or Iraq
No-fly
or
zone in Syria is a bad
you're gonna be
idea.
beheaded. And if you're
You're
a
gonna be
moderate,
beheaded, yeah. You did.
moderate Islamist, you're not going to be able to survive either.
Muslim.
We have to play a role in this to be able to
Moderate
bring the rest of the
Islamist,
world
A no-fly
to
zone
this issue before it's too late.
will be a catalyst for another world war.
Yeah.
But we have
Or an
no
atheist blogger.
idea who the so-called rebels. I read about the rebels. Nobody even knows who they are. I spoke to a general 2 weeks ago. He
The
said
Kurds,
he's very
they're a big
upfront
part of the
with
rebel
exactly
group.
what
What
we're
did Bush
talking
just
about.
grumble
He
there?
said, you know, Mr.
His
Trump,
mic was on.
we're
He
giving
grumbled something.
Well, 'cause we know who the rebels are.
$hundreds of
Let's see what he-
equipment.
let me
But
back
we
up.
have no idea who the so-called rebels. I read about the rebels. Nobody even knows who they are. I spoke to a general 2 weeks ago. He said, who's very up on exactly what we're talking about. He said, you know, Mr. Trump, we're giving hundreds of millions of dollars of equipment to these people. We have no idea who they are. So I don't like Assad. Who's going to like Assad? But we have no idea who these people and what they're going to be and what they're going to represent. They may be
they're
far
the Kurds.
worse than Assad.
They're the people that
Libya.
Assad has
Look at
bombed.
Iraq. Look at the mess we have after spending $2 trillion.
I didn't hear it
Thousands
again.
of
It might have
lives.
been me.
Wounded warriors all over the place
I
who I
grumble.
love. Okay, all over.
I'm a
we have
grumbler.
nothing. And I said, keep the oil. And we should have kept the oil, believe me.
Let's go into countries and
you know what?
steal resources.
Take all their
We should have given
Just like we
big
tried in
chunks
Vietnam.
to the people that lost their arms, their legs, and their families and their sons and daughters. Because
For your
right
fucking
now, you know,
wallet.
there's a lot of that oil, Iran and ISIS.
You know, Mr. Trump
ISIS isn't really
fancies
exporting much oil because they
himself a
can't.
No, they're not.
good negotiator.
They don't have an infrastructure.
And I accept that he's done a lot of good
Oh, look
deals.
at him.
So
Kasich is
Mr.
getting mad.
Trump ought to
He's
know that
tapping,
we should not speak
clenching
to
the jaw.
people from a position of weakness. Senator Paul should know that as well.
We are
One of the
not
reasons I've
weak.
said that I would not be talking to Vladimir Putin right now, although I have met him as well, not in a green room for a show. but
Actually, it wasn't a green
in a
room.
private meeting.
It wasn't in a private meeting. That was called false.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I've said I wouldn't be talking to Vladimir Putin right now is because we are speaking to him from a position of weakness in this administration. So I wouldn't talk to him
Hey,
for
wait.
a while. But
She's
I
not
would
over
do
her
this.
time. Don't turn on the
I
shock
would
collar
start
now.
rebuilding the sixth nose, rebuilding the military, the missile defense program in Poland right under his nose. I would conduct very aggressive military exercises in the Baltic states so that he understood we would protect our NATO allies and would-be allies. And I might also put in a few more thousand troops into Germany, not to start a war, but to make sure that Putin understands that the United States of America will stand with our allies. That is why Governor Bush is correct. We must have a no-fly zone in Syria because Russia cannot tell the United States of America where and when to fly
They
our
allow her
planes.
to go way
We also
overtime
have a set of
all the
allies.
time.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
She's scary.
We have a set of allies in the Arab Middle East who know that ISIS is their fight. They have asked us specifically over and over again to support them. King Abdullah of Jordan, a man I've known for a very long time, has asked us for bombs and materiel. We have not provided it. The Egyptians are asking us to share intelligence. We are not, I will. The Kurds have asked us to arm them for 3 years. We're not, I would. The Egyptians, the Saudis, the Kuwaitis,
Yeah, because
the
arming
Bahrainis,
all of these
the
rebel
Emiratis,
groups
the
has
Kurds,
gone
all
swimmingly
of
in the
these
past.
Yeah, it's worked
people I know,
so
by the
well.
way,
Well, but I thought we didn't know who these rebel groups were.
ISIS is their fight, but they must see leadership support and resolve.
The only
from
one of
United
those
States of
that I might
America.
even
And
give
we
consideration to is the
strongest
Kurds.
military on
Fuck
the face
the
of the
Saudis,
planet,
dude.
And
To me, the
everyone
Kurds are a catch-22.
Yeah, they are, but they don't have any infrastructure like
No,
Egypt or
no.
Saudi or.
But they're so
Iranian.
close to the front lines that if they lose those weapons, it goes right back into the hands of ISIS. That's why it's catch-22 to me. It'll help them fight ISIS, but if they lose the weapons, it goes right to ISIS.
Close down communication. With that in mind, do you think the same applies to administration efforts right now to include the Iranians in talks on Syria?
I'd like first to respond to the accusation.
So not answer that question?
We should, I think
Yeah,
it's
they don't.
particularly naive and particularly foolish to think that we're not going to talk to Russia. The idea of a no-fly zone, realize that this is also something Hillary Clinton agrees with several on our side with. You're asking for a no-fly zone in an area in which Russia already flies. Russia
Yes.
flies in that zone at the invitation of Iraq.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's a good thing, but you better know at least what we're getting into.
Yes.
So when you think it's going to be a good idea to have a no-fly zone of Iraq, realize that means you are saying we are going to shoot down Russian planes.
Yes.
If
Which
you're
would
ready
be
for
pretty
that,
bad.
Yeah,
be
which would
ready to
be
send your sons and
starting a
daughters
World
to
War
another
III.
war in Iraq.
That'd be
I
bad,
don't want to
okay.
see that happen. I think the first war in Iraq was a mistake.
It's asking for another. If you make a no-fly zone, it's asking for another
without being
fucking full-out
involved in every
conflict.
civil
Yeah, it
war
is.
around the
It's
world.
just begging for it.
How would you respond?
Ronald
And Russia
Reagan
will give
was
it to us.
strong, but
So
Ronald
he
Reagan
thinks the
didn't-
first
Ronald Reagan
he thinks the
walked away.
first Iraq war was a mistake under
Yes.
under Poppy Bush.
HW.
Yes.
Yep.
He didn't say anything about the second
He
war
didn't.
in Iraq yet.
But
because he was probably old enough to have voted for it.
Yeah.
That's why.
But I agree with him on those points. Those are my points exactly. We cannot. A no-fly zone will not be enforceable because if you do enforce it,
Then
you're
you're
calling for an all-out war.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
If
Russia.
you don't enforce it, you make us look weak.
Yeah.
Right. And
So by not enacting it in the first place, gives us a stronger position than we would have otherwise.
At Reykjavik, he walked away. He quit talking
Can I finish
when
with
it
my
was
time?
time to quit.
Why does she keep interrupting everybody?
And here comes the bickering.
Oh, the
I'd like to
misogyny.
finish my response, basically.
Yeah, booze. Boo. Oh,
I
yeah.
may respond.
This is an important
Picking on the
question.
lady.
This is an incredibly important question, and the question goes to
K6
be:
restless.
Oh, yeah.
do we want
He's
to
getting
be a
mad.
Commander-in-Chief.
He's gonna go
Do you
here
want a
soon. He's gonna go Jim
Commander-in-Chief
Webb.
who says something that we never did throughout the entire Cold War, to discontinue having conversations with the Russians. I'm not happy about them flying over there, but I'm not naive enough to say, well, Iraq has them flying over their airspace. We're just going to announce that we're shooting them down. That is naive to the point of being something you might hear
Dangerous.
in junior high,
Republican.
but it's scary.
Wait, what?
If you're not going to respond in a no-fly zone strategy, what would yours be?
The first thing I would do is I wouldn't arm our enemies. I wouldn't arm ISIS.
Are we?
Most of the
Is that-
people who
is that
want the
anybody's
no-fly
proposed
zone
solution?
No.
Also favor
Yeah, I don't think
arming
so.
the allies of Al-Qaeda, which became ISIS. That was the dumbest, most foolhardy
We also
notion,
put Saddam into
and
power.
most
So
people
what?
up here
I mean-
supported it.
And
They wanted
Gaddafi.
to arm
And
the allies
Gaddafi.
of Al-Qaeda. Some of them still do. That's how ISIS grew. We pushed back
Gaddafi,
Assad,
Gaddafi,
and
whatever.
ISIS was allowed to grow in the vacuum. So the first thing you do is don't arm your enemies.
Well, may I just say, add to this? I need to add a couple points to this. The first is
Kasich.
Kasich is like waving his arm like, Jesus
I know enough about him
Christ.
to know he's a gangster.
Motherfuckers.
He's basically an organized crime figure that runs a country, controls a $2 trillion economy, and is using it to build up his military in a rapid way, despite the fact his economy is a disaster.
Israel.
He understands only geopolitical strength. And every time he has acted anywhere in the world, whether it's in Ukraine or Georgia before that, or now in the Middle East, is because he is testing a weakness. His calculation in the Middle East is that he's seen what this president has done, which is nothing. The president has no strategy. Our allies in the region do not trust us.
Is he calling for
goodness sake,
war
there's
with
only
Russia
one
right now?
pro-American
Yes.
free enterprise
They're
democracy
all
in the
calling
Middle
for
East.
war in some
It's the
way.
state of Israel. And we have a president that treats the
A
Prime
nuclear
Minister
deal
of
with
Israel
Iran
with
is
respect.
nothing.
We
The
need
way
to
he gives the
smack
Ayatollah
Russia
in Iran.
down.
And so our allies in the region don't trust us. Vladimir Putin is exploiting that weakness for purposes of edging the Americans out as the most important geopolitical power broker in the region. And we
Well,
do have a
that's
vested interest.
probably
And here's
true,
why.
but-
Because all those radical terrorist groups that, by the way, are not just in Syria and in Iraq. ISIS is now in Libya. They are a significant presence in Libya and in Afghanistan and a growing presence in Pakistan. Soon they'll be in Turkey. They'll try Jordan. They'll try Saudi Arabia. They are coming for us. They
Then let
recruit
those countries
Americans
deal with it.
using social media.
Saudi Arabia is
And they
not a
don't hate
poor
us
fucking
because
country.
simply
No,
we
no.
support Israel.
And
They
they're-
hate us
but they're
because
a
of our
pussy
values.
country.
They hate us because our girls go to school. They hate us because women drive in the United States.
No.
Either
No.
they win or
No.
we win. We better take this risk
It might have something to do with
seriously. It is not
constantly
going away
bombing them over the
unexpected.
last 50 years.
Israel!
Yeah.
I'm so fucking tired of Israel.
Governor Kasich, I want
Do you think Israel's a pussy country, or just they figure everybody else will handle this shit, so we don't have to get involved?
No, I said Saudi.
Oh, Saudi.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
No.
I don't know why I said Israel.
Those Israeli special forces guys are pretty fucking badass.
Yeah.
They're trained to only kill.
Yeah, the Saudis are not. I wouldn't say they're a pussy country. They know that
we'll back them up.
Yeah, I don't know that they're a pussy country. I think they just know that everybody else will handle their shit for them.
Yeah, they know that every other country has interests in their country and will protect them.
Yeah.
I'll ask you about China. In particular, hundreds of American companies have been subjected to cyber attacks from the Chinese military. Yet state-backed Chinese companies are growing their presence in the United States. Chinese investments in the US, which were nearly non-existent a few years ago, are now over $50 billion. And as my newspaper recently reported, Chinese companies are planning to bid for one of the largest hotel chains in the United States.
Trump?
What would be the largest ever Chinese takeover of a US company? Would you stop them?
Or is it Motel 6?
Let me tell you this, Mr. Baker.
We'll leave the
in
light
terms of
on.
cyber attacks, we have the capability to not only have a defensive posture, but also to make it clear to people that if you attack us with cyber attacks, we will destroy the mechanisms that you're using to attack us. I want to give you a little trip around the world. I served on the Defense Committee for 18 years. In the Ukraine, arm the people there so they can fight for themselves. In the eastern part of Europe, make sure that Finland and the Baltics know that if the Russians move, we move. In Syria, yes, a no-fly zone in the north on the Turkish border, a no-fly zone on the south on the Jordanian
not gonna work.
border. Anybody flies in their first time, maybe they can fly out. They fly in there a second time, they will not fly out.
Fool me once, shame on
sanctuary for
me.
To be,
fool me twice.
Many messages in the Middle East.
You won't fool me again.
Saudi Arabia, cut off the funding for the radical clerics, the ones that preach against us, but they're fundamentally our friends. Jordan, we want the king to reign for 1,000 years. Egypt, they've been our ally and a moderating force in the Middle East throughout their history. In the countries of the Gulf states of Bahrain, the Cleveland Clinic is opening an operation. Clearly, we see the same with them. And in Israel, we have no better ally in the world, and no more criticizing them in public. We should support them. And finally, China. China doesn't own the South China Sea. And I give the president some credit for being able to move a naval force in there to let the Chinese know that we're not going to put up with it anymore. And in the trade agreement, the TPP, it's critical to us, not only for economic reasons and for jobs, because there's so many people who are connected to getting jobs because of trade, but it allows us to create not only economic alliances, but also potentially strategic alliances against the Chinese. They're not our enemy, but they're certainly not our friend. And finally, I will say to everybody in this room, we've been talking about taxes and economics. When the fall comes and we run against Hillary, which would be a disaster if she got elected. I have two 16-year-old girls, and I want this country to be strong. We make promises we can't keep. Under the bright light of the fall, we will have trouble. We must make sure that our economic programs and our military programs are solid. I served in Washington as the chairman of the budget committee, and we got the budget balanced.
You know what would keep them more solid?
Ohio as the CEO,
a budget.
And guess what? We got to have a CEO mentality.
For 2 years.
To beat Hillary Clinton and the Democrats in the fall.
But we haven't since the 90s. Yeah, it's been like, what, 16 years? No, it's been longer than that.
We have the confidence
was it
to
97?
lead America.
No.
As president,
it was early
I
97.
will lead this country as I have before in Washington and in Ohio, and will return.
For some reason, I want to say like 96 or 97.
And international
it was Clinton.
affairs. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak this time, Jerry.
Thank you, Governor. Plenty of opportunities. Thank you, Neil.
All right, and look at the time. Look at the time. You are watching.
Look at the time.
Stick around.
Is it time for tea? Yes, it's time for a tea break. Break.
Tea bag.
Fuck. These guys are driving me fucking crazy.
Time for a tea bag.
Time for a tea bag. Tea party tea bag.
It's the right time for a tea bag.
Live from Milwaukee. Now, let's get straight back to the questions. Governor Bush. Governor, Hillary Clinton recently said that if we had another financial
he sounds like he's from a
like
Wallace and Gromit cartoon.
2008, she wouldn't bail out the banks.
The moon is cheese, Gromit.
We shouldn't have another financial crisis. What we ought to do is raise the capital requirements so banks aren't too big to fail. Dodd-Frank has actually done the opposite. Totally the opposite. Where banks now have higher concentration of risk and assets, and the capital requirements aren't high enough. If we were serious about it, we would raise the capital requirements and lessen the load on the community banks and other financial institutions. This vast overreach has created a huge problem for our country, and Hillary Clinton wants to double down on that. I was in Washington, Iowa, about 3 months ago.
Were you in Washington or Iowa?
Washington, D.C. is. It was get the kind of the... we had,
noise.
And I talked to a banker there. This is a bank that had $125 million of assets, 4 branches. Their compliance cost because of Dodd-Frank went from $100,000 to $600,000 in a 2-year period.
That poor bank.
The net effect of that is, and they had not one loan that went bad during the financial crisis. They knew their borrowers. They gave back to the community. They were engaged in the community. And imagine America without its community banks. Well, that's what's happening.
Did they tell you that they didn't have one bad loan?
My worry is that the real economy.
Did he just say that during Dodd-Frank, this bank didn't have any?
No, during the economic crisis when all the other banks were failing, they didn't have any bad loans at that time.
That's what I was saying. Is this anecdote that they told him that we didn't even have a single bad loan?
I find that impossible.
Well, in this one bank,
the vast overreach
with 2 lenders
of the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton.
We gave out 2 loans and they were both good.
This is exactly why I don't trust anecdotal evidence.
Johnny bought a tricycle and Susie bought a popsicle.
She was for the trade agreement and the Pacific Agreement. Now she's she's against it. She was for the XL pipeline. Now she's opposed to it. All the things that would create sustained economic growth, she's now doubling down against it.
Governor, but can I just
the pipeline's not going to do anything for growth for the U.S.
The pipeline is dead.
I know,
Yeah, it's dead.
finally dead.
You could, if you were serious about
ever? There'll never be another financial crisis?
No, I can't say that, but I can say if you created higher capital requirements, that's the solution to this. Not having concentration of assets, the bigger banks now have more and more control over the financial assets of this country, and that is the wrong approach to take.
Bernie's pulling him
Carson, if I
too.
may, just on that point, despite measures taken, as the governor says, since the crisis to make the
Banks
financial
do need to be
system
more
safer,
accountable.
the major banks in the U.S., many of them are actually bigger than ever. Assets held by JP Morgan Chase, for example, the very largest bank, have increased by nearly 40% to over $2.6 trillion. Do you think JP Morgan and the other big banks should be broken up?
Well, I think we should have policies that don't allow them to just enlarge themselves at the expense of a smaller entity.
So you don't like capitalism?
Some of the policies, some of the monetary and Fed policies that we're using makes it very easy for them. Makes it very easy for the big corporations, quite frankly, at these very low interest rates to buy back their stock and to drive the price of that up artificially. Those are the kinds of things that led to the problem in the first place. And I think this all really gets back to this whole regulation issue, which is creating
he stumbled
a
on
very
stage.
abnormal situation. This country,
I honestly wonder how he got his doctorate.
I know, and to think people were like, "Yeah, you can work on my brain."
In less than 100 years, he's the number one.
Don't leave any more sponges in there.
And the reason was because we had an atmosphere that encouraged entrepreneurial risk-taking and
Jesus will
capital
get rid of it.
investment.
Yeah,
those are the fuels
using your
that
brain for
drive
grain
it.
storage.
And what we've done now is let the creep of regulation.
I wonder how many brains he put bird food in.
Of regulations, which is involved in every aspect of our lives. If we can get that out, it makes a big difference. And even for the average person, every single regulation costs money. And it's shifted.
So we should
to the
put regulations in place so these
and
banks
it
can't get
hurts
so
the
big.
Poor and the middle class much more than it does the rich. They go into the store and they buy a bar of soap. It costs 10 cents more. They notice it. And the middle class, when they come to the cash register, they have a whole cart full of things that cost 5, 10, or 15 cents more. They notice it. It is hurting the poor.
A whole cart full of things that cost 5 or 10, 15 cents more. They notice it.
Really
No, I don't
the
think
middle
so.
class and the
Well,
poor.
per
They'll
item.
say it's the rich
Per
that
item.
take their money, but that won't help. You can
They
take
notice
all
it
the
because
rich's money and
the
it
price
won't
of
make a
food
dent in the
goes
problem
up
that we're
and their
having.
wages
We have
stay
to come back
stagnant.
to the fundamental principles that made America great.
But just to be clear, just to be clear, then you wouldn't favour breaking up the big banks. You think they're big enough? They're okay as they are. As big.
I would have policies that wouldn't allow that to occur.
Oh.
I don't want to go in and tear anybody.
So I don't want to answer the question.
So basically, no.
But what does help us is to stop
If I'd have been in
tinkering
place
around the
before they
edges
got big,
and
then yeah.
fix the actual problems
But now,
that exist
no.
that are creating the problem in the
Can I
first
just
place.
add what he's saying? Because he's right on point there. You know why these banks are so big? The government made them big. The government made them big by adding thousands and thousands of pages of regulations. So the big banks, they have an army of lawyers, they have an army of compliance officers. They can deal with all these things. The small banks, like Governor Bush was saying, they can't deal with all these regulations. They can't deal with they cannot hire the fanciest law firm in Washington or the best lobbying firm to deal with all these regulations. And so the result is the big banks get bigger, the small banks struggle to lend or even exist, and the result is what you have today. And in Dodd-Frank, you have actually codified too big to fail. We have actually created a category of systemically important institutions, and these banks go around bragging about it. You know what they say to people with a wink and a nod? We are so big, we are so important that if we get in trouble, the government has to bail us out. This is an outrage. We need to repeal Dodd-Frank as soon as possible.
Let me also say, Jerry, let me also say that Jeb is talking about with the big banks is to force them to reserve their capital of people who invest in, and they hold their capital so that if the bank goes down, the people who are invested in the bank are the ones that pay. That's what he's trying to say. Secondly, I'll tell you about Wall Street. There's too much greed. And the fact is, a free enterprise system is a system that's produced the greatest wealth for the world. But you know, Michael Novak, the great Catholic theologian, says that a free enterprise system that is not underlaid with values, and we should all think about the way we conduct our lives. Yes, free enterprise is great. Profits are great. But there have to be some values that underlay it, and they need a good ethics lesson on Wall Street on a regular basis to keep them
Wasn't
in
there a
check
thing
so
that,
we, the people, do not lose.
The Jews used to do before Catholicism became a thing, where when debt became too great, they would just wipe everyone's debt and start over?
Senator Cruz, and I will get to you, but Senator
I thought that was an
Cruz,
old
on
world
that
thing.
Facebook data shows that over the last
Sounds like
month
it.
alone, nearly 1 million people, nearly 1 million, have been concerned about reining in Wall Street, apparently believing that some have not been punished enough.
Of course
so
they
as
haven't.
an accomplished litigator
Not a single one of them
yourself,
spent
and a
any
former
time in
Solicitor
jail.
General, would you go after the very people who believe and fear that Wall Street has ignored? In other words, the crooks that Bernie Sanders say have gotten away with a financial murder.
Would you go after him?
Absolutely, yes. You know, I've spent much
Hey,
of my adult
absolutely,
life
yes.
enforcing the law.
Sounds
and
like a
defending
fucking
the
80-year-old
Constitution.
Georgia
and
woman.
The problem that underlies all of this is the cronyism and corruption of Washington. You know, the opening question Jerry asked, would you bail out the big banks again? Nobody gave you an answer to that. I'll give you an answer. Absolutely not. And what we have right now is we have Washington, as government gets bigger and bigger. You know, the biggest lie in all of Washington and in all of politics is that Republicans are the party of the rich. The truth is the rich do great with big government. They get in bed with big government. The big banks get bigger and bigger and bigger under Dodd-Frank, and community banks are going out of business. And by the way, the consequence of that is small businesses can't get business loans. And it is that fundamental corruption that is why 6 of the 10 wealthiest counties in America are in and around Washington, D.C. Now, let me give you a contrast.
Because of fucking...
to Washington cronyism.
Because of your paycheck.
Some weeks ago, a woman named Sabina Loving testified at a hearing that I chaired in the Senate.
More anecdotes.
Sabina Loving is an African-American single mom who started a tax preparation business on the south side of Chicago. She found a storefront. She wanted to have her own business. She started a business. But then the IRS promulgated new regulations targeting tax preparers. They did it under a more than 100-year-old statute.
Yeah, the
called
IRS
the
just
Dead
pulled
Horse
it out of their
Act.
asses.
Right.
Now, this statute and the IRS, in classic Washington crony fashion, had exemptions for lawyers and big fancy accountants, but Sabina had to pay $1,000 an employee. It would have driven her out of business, and Ms. Loving sued the IRS. She took the Obama IRS to court, and she finally struck down the rule for picking the big guys over the little guys.
There's no cronyism with Bush, and Bush.
I really want to be clear here. Are you saying, sir, that if the Bank of America were on the brink, you would let it fail?
Yes. Now, let's be clear. There is a role for the Federal Reserve. What the Fed is doing now is it is a series of philosopher kings trying to guess what's happening with the economy. You look at the Fed, one of the reasons we had the financial crash is throughout the 2000s, we had loose money, we had an asset bubble, it drove up the price of real estate, drove up the price of commodities, and then in the third quarter of 2008, the Fed tightened the money and crashed those asset prices, which caused a cascading collapse. That's why I am supporting getting back to rules-based monetary system, not with a bunch of philosopher kings deciding, but tied ideally.
Sir, I understand that.
I'd blame it on predator loans, like arm loans and shit.
Would be on the line with that decision. Well, and I just want to be clear. If it were to happen again, for whatever the reason, that you would let it go. You would let a Bank of America go.
So let me be clear. I would not bail them out.
He's not saying it.
But instead of adjusting monetary policy according to whims and getting it wrong over and over again and causing booms and busts, what the Fed should be doing is, number one, keeping our money tied to a stable
still not answering
level
the
of gold,
fucking question.
and
Yeah, so
number two, serving as a
basically,
lender
yes,
of
he would
last
save
resort.
them.
That's what central
It's
banks
a yes or no question.
So if you have a run on a bank, the Fed can serve as a lender of last resort, but it's not a bailout. It is a loan at higher interest rates.
There you go. That's exactly what we did.
Work. And I'll point out, look, we had a gold standard under Bretton Woods. We had it for about 7 years of our nation's history.
It won't work anymore.
And enjoyed booming economic growth and lower inflation than we have had with the Fed now. We need to get back
because
to
gold isn't
money,
fucking arbitrarily priced anyway.
Right. Working men and women. What Washington
it's
does.
the same as paper.
The people who are doing well in the Obama economy are those with power and influence in the Obama government, the people who are hurt are working men and women, and that's who we need to fight for.
Neil, that's the difference of being an executive. And let me just explain. When a bank is ready to go under and depositors are getting ready to lose their life savings, you just don't say we believe in philosophical concerns. You know what an executive has to decide? When there's a water crisis, how do we get water to the city? When there's a school shooting, how do you get there and help heal a community? When there are financial crises or a crisis with Ebola, you got to go there and try to fix it.
Yeah, we've had that
Philosophy
problem
doesn't
before.
work when you run
When
something.
there's a crisis
And I got to
with
tell
Ebola.
you, on-the-job training for President of the United
You
States
put that in the
doesn't
category
work.
with
We've
guns.
done it for
Yeah.
When there's a
8 years,
crisis
almost
with
8 years now. It
GMOs.
does not work. We need an executive who's been tried,
When homeopathy
has been
is running rampant.
and judge the
Vaccinations.
decisions that that
Right.
executive
All them
makes.
healing
I
oils.
don't like what the Fed is doing, but I'll tell you what worries me more than anything else: turning the Fed over to the Congress of the
Governor.
United
So, Governor
States so
Kasich,
they
The
can
Republican
money.
Congress?
That would be a very bad approach for
So,
them.
Governor Kasich, why would you then bail out rich Wall Street banks, but not Main
wouldn't.
Street, not mom and
I
pop,
wouldn't.
not Sabina Loving? Well, you just said an
No, I didn't
executive
say that.
knows to step in and bail out a bank.
They were talking about what you would do with depositors. Would you let these banks shut down? My argument is going forward, the banks have to reserve the capital so that the people who own the capital start pressuring the banks to not take these risky approaches.
How the
Ted.
fuck are
But
the
at
people
end of
going
the
to
day,
do that?
They're not.
I'll tell you this.
You have no control over what the bank does with the
not
money.
at all.
You have no idea what they're doing with the money.
What would you do if the bank was? I would not let the people who put their money in there all go down.
So you would bail them out?
No, as an executive, I would figure out how to separate those people who could afford it versus those people or the hardworking folks who put their money in those institutions. Let me say another thing.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid.
Here's what I mean by that.
Yeah, he's done.
When you are faced in the last financial crisis,
But I think
with
Ted
banks
Cruz should be
going
done
under,
too. His plan
with
isn't any
banks
better.
going under,
Yeah.
and people who put their
he's
life
tacitly
savings in there,
said he'd
you
bail
got
them
to
out.
deal with it. You
Yeah.
can't turn a blind eye to it. Now, going forward, that's one thing. If you had another financial crisis, perhaps there would be an
Thank
effort
you,
to
Governor
make sure that we
Kasich.
do.
Could I just say, as a
No, you
chief
can't.
executive who's had to make tough calls to
fire your employees?
Sounds like
and
she's
to grow
gargling
jobs.
the
I think
microphone.
what's interesting about Dodd-Frank is it's a great example of how
Yeah, she seems like
socialism
muted.
Socialism starts when government creates a problem and then government steps in to solve the problem. Government created the problem.
No.
Government created the problem of a real estate boom. How did we create it? Under Republicans and
By not
Democrats
regulating
alike.
it well enough.
And Freddie Mac, everybody gathered together, Republicans and Democrats, and said home ownership is part of the American dream. Let's create a bubble, and then
Let's let
government stepped
everybody
in.
fucking
By
do it. The
way,
free
under
hand of the
President
market
George
will sort
W.
it out.
Bush,
Yeah.
Banks were
It
told,
wasn't-
encouraged, told really, to buy other banks, to take money. And now what do we have with Dodd-Frank?
You're a
The classic
fucking
of crony
dumbass.
capitalism. The big have gotten bigger. 1,590 community banks have gone out of business. And on top of all that, we've created something called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, a vast bureaucracy with no congressional oversight that's digging through hundreds of
dinged
millions
twice
of
now.
your credit
Yeah.
records to detect
she's going for 3.
fraud.
The record.
This is how
They let her
socialism
go
starts, ladies and
overtime
gentlemen.
so
we
much.
must take our government back.
Kasich's over there just
More questions coming up when the Republican presidential debate
like
comes right
pacing.
back.
It's horseshit.
Welcome back to the fourth Republican presidential debate. Senator
Are they going
Rubio,
to give us her last thoughts?
Hillary Clinton is the clear
No.
front
This
runner
is
for the
this is
Democratic
part
nomination.
10 of 11.
If she is indeed the nominee,
Well, there was an after show.
you will be facing a candidate with an impressive resume. She was the
I
first
thought
lady of the
you
United
exactly.
States.
Oh wait, what was the question?
Resume. She was the first lady of the United States.
They're going for Hillary's resume.
Oh, sorry. Let me
If she is indeed the nominee, you will be facing a candidate with an impressive resume. She was the first lady of the United States.
they're just booing that she has a
U.S.
resume.
Senator from New York and Secretary of State under Barack Obama. She has arguably more experience, certainly more time in government than almost all of you on stage tonight. Why should the American people trust you
What do you mean
to lead
almost?
this country, even though she has been so
Who
much
has
closer
more?
to the office?
Well, that's a great question. And let me begin by
Kasich
answering
or Paul. That's it. That's the only options. Bush?
This election is about the future. About what kind of country this nation is going to be in the 21st century. This election is actually a generational choice. A choice about what kind of nation we will be in the 21st century.
Israel.
For over 2.5 centuries,
stuck in the
America has been a
50s?
special country.
Yeah.
The one place on earth where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything. A nation that's been a force for good on this planet. But now, a growing number of Americans feel out of place in their own country. We have a society that stigmatizes those that hold cultural values that are traditional. We have a society where people, millions of people, are living paycheck to paycheck. They're working as hard as they ever have, but they're living paycheck to paycheck because the economy has changed underneath their feet. We have young Americans who owe thousands of dollars in student loans for a degree that doesn't lead to a job.
Bernie.
For the first time in 35 years, we have more businesses dying than starting. And around the world, every day brings news of.
We got a lot starting in China.
Shit.
Many.
We've always had more businesses dying than
direct
starting.
consequence of decisions made when Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of the State. And so here's the truth. This election is about
Secretary of the United States.
And the Democratic Party and the political left has no ideas about the future. All their ideas are the same tired ideas of the past. More government, more spending for every
and yours aren't?
America.
Oh,
Their
irony.
answer is a new tax on someone
pot, meet
and
kettle.
a new government program. This nation is going to turn the page. And that's what this election should be about. And as I said at the first debate, if I am our nominee, they will be the party of the past. We will be the party of the 21st century.
You are so in the past.
21st century, my ass.
I want the party of Picard to be the party of the 21st
And
century.
Maria, I will note she's got a lot of experience, but her policies have proven disastrous. If you look at foreign policy, every region on the world has gotten worse. Under her leadership, we abandoned the nation of Israel. Under her leadership, radical Islamic terrorism has been under the rise.
Yeah, we're not giving them
Under her
$18
leadership
billion
and
a
Obama's
year.
leadership, Iran is getting $100 billion and on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon. Everything she's put her hand to
He says that
is
like we're just
touched.
fucking
And when we
handing
talk
it to
about
him.
the
We're
cronyism
paying it.
Of Washington.
Wait, did
Hillary
he just
Clinton
say?
embodies
Did he just say
the
everything she's
cronyism
put her
of
hand
Washington.
to is touched?
And I'll give you an example. Her hand to is touched.
Yeah.
And when we talk
She
about the
did. He just said
cronyism
everything
of
she's put her
Washington,
hand to is
Hillary
touched.
Clinton embodies
Well, I hope she touches everything with her
cronyism
hand.
of Washington.
It'd be weird if she did with her feet.
And I'll give you an example of that, which is the congressional exemption from Obamacare, which is fundamentally wrong.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this. If I'm elected president, I will veto
There
any
isn't a
statute
congressional
that exempts
exemption. Just like me, I get federal health care, and just like them, they get federal health care. There is no exemption from the Affordable Care Act. Everyone is required to have insurance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the fact that federal employees get to choose from a different pool of insurers doesn't mean you don't get the option to not be insured.
A much better pool.
It is a better pool. It is.
But everything she's put her hand to is touched.
Well, if the Affordable Care Act worked the way it was supposed to, civilians could be in that same pool.
See, and the difference is, like, I'm a federal employee, and I figure, I've got these great benefits. I wish everybody else could have these same benefits.
Yes.
People like this fucking clown are like, I've got these great benefits. Fuck everybody else.
Yeah.
Let's let someone else figure out the problem.
And when him
The
saying
invisible
that,
hand of the free market will solve all of this.
Or the invisible hand of the God.
I've got my benefits that were provided from the government.
yes,
Yeah.
That are so much better than everybody else's, but somehow everybody else's problems will be solved by this invisible fucking hand that has never presented itself until I hope one day it may.
yeah. But I still hate that fucking notion where he keeps repeating it, saying, "Well, we're exempt from the Affordable Care Act." No, you're not. Do you have insurance? Yes. Then you're not exempt. You're required to have health.
You're required
coverage.
to have it, and you do.
That's
so
part
congratulations.
of. Yes, that's part of the fucking Affordable Care Act. You're required to be insured. That's it.
Yep.
You're covered.
Congress,
you're not exempt.
The law should apply evenly to every American.
It is.
It should. You're absolutely right. It should.
Yeah.
All right,
Every
I wanna
American
make
should be able to have the
Everybody
same
should have
access.
the same option.
All right,
Yes.
Mr. Trump.
Right.
I shouldn't get better options than someone else.
I had
Correct.
A feeling. As perhaps the most successful capitalist on
He
this
shouldn't
stage
get better
tonight,
options
you've
than
Well,
acknowledged
as a
some give
firefighter, I would be
capitalism a
kind of
bad
okay
name.
with that.
You've been
Well, me and Dan
particularly
get to
critical
choose from the same
businesses
insurance
that find
pool.
all
Yeah.
sorts of
Yeah,
ways
but
of
given
paying
your
their
job
taxes
description,
by
if you had
keeping money
better
abroad.
options, I would be like,
But your
yeah,
own
well,
plan-
okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can
For
get burned in a
Dan-
house fire just as easily as I can.
For Dan, though, I would expect that I would have the same because I work in an office on computers all day as well.
I don't think it should go that way.
But I'm just saying, if there was an imbalance because of the risk of your job, I would say, yeah, fair, fine, whatever.
I would say maybe there should be additional coverages for me being exposed to nasty shit. Not shit literally, but like
dick shit.
Like not dick shit, but like
all of the carcinogens,
like carcinogens
and that are burning around
and possible like hazardous materials and shit.
All I'm saying is, your job could there's a way higher potential for greater health risks.
Oh yeah,
with your job than there are for, I'm assuming, yours or mine.
Oh yeah, most firefighters die within 5 years after retirement.
Yeah, and so if you had different options, for carcinogens, mesothelioma, cancers, those kinds of things, I would be like, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, or just straight up fucking heart attack and stress. Not stresses, but the stress you put on your body.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like the 9/11 first responders who were succumbing.
Yeah,
to
they're
all
like
of
all
these
dead now.
ailments.
Yeah,
crazy.
they're like all dead. Yeah.
Or just all the shit I was exposed to in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Includes an incentive to
I'm gonna
bring.
back this up just a little bit.
Some give capitalism a bad name. You've been particularly critical of businesses that
'Cause it's
find
never
all
worked.
sorts of ways of paying their taxes by keeping money abroad. But your own plan includes an incentive to bring that more than $2 trillion home. Isn't that like a one-time bounty?
No.
Some of the guys
No,
who
it's a one-time bounty.
pirates, so they still keep the loot and pay only a small price to bring it back.
Well, what's happening right now, Neil, is something that has not been a subject of conversation by politicians, as primarily the only politician, I guess, other than Carly on the stage. They haven't talked about a corporate inversion. Now, corporate inversion, companies are leaving. We used to leave New York to go to Florida. We got better taxes. We got maybe something else. Now they're leaving the United States to go to other countries. They have trillions of dollars in those other countries. They're going for two reasons. They can't get their money back in. It's something where the Democrats and the Republicans both agree. It's the only thing I can think of. They both agree. Let the money come back in. 3.5 years, they still can't make a deal. They can't get the money in. It's probably $2.5 trillion, but I think it's much more than that. All of that money could come right in and be used to rebuild our country and investments in our country. They can't do it. What we have to do, and what I've done, is made the tax rate, and one of the reasons they don't bring it in, the taxes.
Oh, he set the tax rate?
Yeah. They can't do it. I made it a 10% number, as you know. I've been very highly praised for it. A lot of money's going to come back in.
People think it's amazing.
Yeah. Bureaucratic problems.
Especially your friends who own companies.
That's also a problem. And we're going to have all of this money pour back into the United States. It's going to be used to build businesses, for jobs, and everything else. And as I say, my expression is, let's make America great again.
So if we go from a 20% tax rate for companies onto a 10% tax rate, and we double the number of companies in America, we will have no more extra gain.
States that human activity contributed to climate change. President Obama has announced an aggressive plan to cut carbon emissions. At the same time,
good idea.
Energy production in America has boomed.
Boom.
Is it possible to continue this boom and move toward energy self-sufficiency while at the same time pursuing a meaningful climate change program?
The first thing I would do as president is repeal the regulations that are hampering our energy that the president has put in place.
Drill.
Yeah, let's get rid of all those environmental protections.
The Clean Power Act. Well, I do think
fuck clean power. Coal.
Our climate. I think nature also has a role. The planet's 4.5 billion years old. We've been through geologic age after
and we've only been on for a very minute amount of time.
That's like grandma's 85. Let's just stop giving her pills.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm amazed.
She's done well for the past 80 years without them.
She's fine. She's had a long life. Let's just fuck with everything that's keeping her alive.
Yeah. Am I the only one that's shocked at Republicans admitting 4.5 billion years old?
That's a very good point.
True. Yeah. He didn't say 6,000
or 10
or
or anyway. No, the carbon in the atmosphere has been
or lassoing dinosaurs.
So I think we need to look before we leap. President's often fond of saying he wants a balanced solution. But really, we do need to balance both keeping the environment clean. We will have some rules for that. But we got to balance that with the economy. He's devastated my state. I say the president's not only destroying Kentucky,
your state's
he's destroying
shit.
the Democrat Party down there because nobody wants to associate with him. So what we really need is somebody that understands that we do need energy of all forms. And that means we will have solar and wind and hydro. But we will still have coal.
Hydra?
We still have natural gas.
Hail Hydra.
We've got to
Hail
have
Hydra.
all of the above policy. But it would be
we'll
a
still have
mistake
coal
to
and
shut
gas.
down all of our industries. In the
why don't we go back to
coal fields and shut
kerosene
down
and
the coal-
steam-powered?
the coal-powered
Yeah.
plants. If we did so,
Nah, fuck that whale
we're going
blubber.
to have a day where we wake up and some of our big cities are either very cold or very hot. So I think it's a big danger, and we shouldn't do it.
Well, we're
And
gonna
what
wake up
we
very
should do
cold
is say,
someday.
We want all of the above. We want to free up the energy sector and let people produce, let them drill, let them explore.
No. I want to keep the beauty of our national parks. I don't want more fucking holes and strip mining done in them.
Reduction in carbon emissions, and it isn't because of Solyndra. It isn't because of the central planners in Washington, D.C.
Solyndra.
It's because we've had a great American success story, the explosion of natural gas. Taking two existing technologies and applying it through innovation has created lower carbon emissions, lower energy costs. 40% of all the economic activity in the age of Obama has come from the energy sector, and Hillary Clinton wants to suppress that. I think we ought to be expanding this. High growth is the path to lower carbon and more jobs. I know for a fact, as governor of the state of Florida, we created the largest land purchasing programs and environmental cleanup programs because we had a growing economy. Our revenues were growing at 4.4%. It allowed for resources to be able to protect the natural systems. We got to get to a conservation environmental policy that goes beyond just carbon.
All right, I know you want to talk, and I know you want to talk, but we also promised to get people home tonight. And we are going to take a quick break here. I think it is fair to say at this juncture that you can discuss business issues and only business issues and still keep it interesting. Stick around.
So they keep talking about, reducing carbon emissions, and that's a good thing, but it doesn't have anything to do with climate change.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And also
climate change isn't real, but we should still reduce carbon emissions because
and we
But in the
we still
meantime,
need
let's
to drill. Yeah, we still need to drill and get rid of the Clean Air Act and and all the EPA regulations, and let's repeal Obamacare while we're at it.
I do know, supposedly, we're talking about this last night at work, that with all the oil, there's a giant, oil deposit in the United States that we have to drill in a lot of our national parks to get at that could last us for like 4,000 years. But that's not the fucking point. 4,000 years of burning that oil will fucking destroy this world.
And destroy all of that beautiful
Destroy all
land.
the landscape.
Yeah, we don't have 4,000 years of burning.
I mean, I like Moab. I like Zion. I like Bryce Canyon. These are places they want to go and fucking drill.
We've been burning for what, 200 years?
Well, we started off with kerosene. Kerosene was our first oil byproduct we were using quite a bit of. Coal.
Well, but I think Matt's getting to the point of we've been burning for a very short amount of time, and they're talking about burning for thousands of years, and somehow that will be good.
Yeah.
Let's say 200 years. Let's say 300. And they're talking about 4,000.
Which, if you go by the cosmic calendar, it doesn't even fucking show up.
No, of course it doesn't. But 200, 300 years compared to 4,000, and the damage we've done,
already done in that short amount of
300
time.
years.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I would say that the economic boom of actually burning more coal and more fuels hasn't been since 1920s,
but we can't
when
use
industry really fucking blew up.
But what can we do? I mean, we can't use solar panels; that'll deplete the sun. So
I know.
You throw up a bunch of windmills, and then we'll run out of wind.
Yeah. And if we put buoys in the ocean to fucking generate currents, we're going to run out of waves to surf.
No waves.
We're just going to suck everything out of our renewable energy sources.
Humans are the worst.
I mean, what the fuck are we going to do?
We all just need to die anyway.
I think it's the renewable part that Republicans don't seem to understand.
Yeah. I did see one thing a while back.
They look at these pools of oil and go, that's a finite resource, just like wind and solar.
I did see one experiment where they were able to do like micro cold fusion. They're able to put like an atom in liquid and literally expand it to create a mass amount of energy.
I don't think cold fusion's a thing.
Well, no, the thing is it didn't really work because it happened so fucking quick. You needed a super, super, super fast camera to see it happen, and the amount of energy it took to create it was way more than it fucking created in the beginning. So
so it's pointless.
So it's pointless. But if you can evolve that technique and actually get it to stay and sustain,
maybe.
Welcome back to the Republican presidential debate. And now, candidates, it's time for your
last
closing
segment.
statements. You get
Praise Jesus.
each. And Senator Paul, we will begin with you.
And it's short. It's only
We're
7.5
the
minutes.
richest, freest, most humanitarian nation in the history of mankind. But we also borrow $1 million a minute. And the question I have for all Americans is think about it. Can you be a fiscal conservative if you don't conserve all of the money? If you're a profligate spender and you spend money in an unlimited fashion for the military, is that a conservative notion? We have to be conservative with all spending, domestic spending and welfare spending. I'm the only fiscal conservative on the stage.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Kasich.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders were to win this election, my 16-year-olds, I worry about what their life is going to be like. You know, the conservative movement is all about opportunity. It is about lower taxes. It's about balanced budgets. It's about less regulation. And it's about sending power, money, and influence back to where we live so we can run America from the bottom up. In addition to that, once we have the power and the money and the influence with programs we shift out, then each of us have a responsibility to reach out and to rebuild our families, make them stronger, and connect our neighborhoods. All that together, wealth, connection, family, America's greatest days are ahead. We must win this election.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Carly Fiorina.
Imagine a Clinton presidency. Our military will continue to deteriorate. Our veterans will not be cared for. And no, Mrs. Clinton, that situation is not exaggerated. The rich will get richer. The poor will get poorer. The middle class will continue to get crushed. And as bad as that picture is, what's even worse
is she talking
that
about a Republican
presidency will corrode the character of this nation. Why? Because of the way. Say whatever you have to. Lie as long as you can get away with it. We must beat Hillary Clinton. Carly Fiorina can beat Hillary Clinton. I will beat Hillary Clinton. And under a President Fiorina, we will restore the character of this nation, the security of this nation, the prosperity of this nation. Because as citizens, we will take our government back.
I think that's the third time she said that.
I know. And from what?
Yeah.
Jeb Bush.
Democrats.
Jane Horton is sitting with my wife here today. Her husband, Chris, was killed in action in Afghanistan. And Jane spends her time now defending and fighting for military families. They're both heroes. I don't think we need an agitator-in-chief or a divider-in-chief. We need a commander-in-chief.
Just like my brother.
Rebuild our
I'm a
military
uniter-in-chief.
and restore respect to our veterans by revamping and fixing a broken Veterans Administration. That's my pledge to you. I ask for your support. Thank you.
Chief. We don't need a divider-in-chief.
I think Jeb he's tired of running.
Ted Cruz.
58 years ago, my father fled Cuba.
Anecdote.
As he stood on the deck of that ferry boat with the wind and salt air
The
blowing,
Democrats don't do this.
he looked back at the oppression and torture he was escaping. And
He
yet
thinks he's a
looked
Mexican
forward to
soap
the
star.
promise of
Well,
America.
he ran so far, he made it to
His
Canada.
story is our story. What
Yeah,
ties
he
Americans
just kept
together
running.
is we are all the children of those who risked everything for freedom. America's in crisis now. I believe in America. And if we get back to the free market principles and constitutional liberties that built this country, we can turn this country around. I believe that 2016 will be an election like 1980, that we will win by following Reagan's admonition to paint in bold colors, not pale pastels. We're building a grassroots army. I ask you to join
Why is he the God of people who already have a God?
Can turn this nation around.
And he was a terrible
Senator
president.
Marco Rubio.
And he failed on almost every economic measure that these people would espouse.
Yeah.
It is the story of a nation that for over 2 centuries, each generation has left the next better off than themselves. But now, because Washington is out of touch, through the fault of both political parties, for the first time in our history, that is in doubt. And that is what this election must be about, because if the next 4 years are anything like the last 8 years, our children will be the first Americans ever left worse off by their parents. This election is about making
trying to appeal to the middle
about
a little
applying
bit.
our principles.
I'm
of
doing better
limited
off than my
government and
parents
free
were at my
enterprise
their
to the
age.
unique issues
Oh, yeah,
of our time.
I am
And if
too.
we do, we will not just save the American dream. We will expand it to reach more people and change more lives than ever before. And the 21st
Plug your
century
shit.
can be a new American century. So tonight,
What's your website?
I ask you for your vote.
No,
And I
website.
ask you to join us at my website.
Oh, there it is.
.com.
Okay. Just checking.
And they all think, all the moderators think it's hilarious.
Ben
Yeah.
Carson.
So cute.
In the 2
I did
hours
surgery.
of this debate,
Wait, go back.
people
I
have
love this
died
part.
from
I
drug-related
love this
deaths.
part. This is my favorite part. In the 2 hours of this bait,
In the 2
debate.
hours of this debate,
This
5
bait.
people
This
have died
debate.
from drug-related deaths.
Oh,
$100 million.
stop prescribing drugs.
100 of
200
this bait
babies have been
by the
killed by-
this
Oh
debate.
my
200 babies have been killed by abortions.
200 babies have been killed by abortionists.
Fuck you.
Abortionists.
2 veterans
That's even
have
worse.
taken their lives out of despair. This is a
Because of
narrative
Republican
that we
policy.
can
All
change.
because of Republican
not we
policies.
the Democrats, not we the Republicans, but we the people of America, because there is something special about this nation. And
I want
we
to
must
punch him in his
embrace it
sleepy
and
face.
be proud of it.
I know, it's
and
hard
never
'cause
give
he's
it
a teddy
away
bear.
for the sake of political correctness.
He might stab you right in your belt buckle,
Donald
and the
Trump.
knife will break
Thank you.
because God said no.
Over the years, I've created tens of thousands of jobs.
Tens
in
of
a great
thousands.
company. It's a company I'm very proud of. Some of
called
the
Trump.
most iconic assets anywhere in the world. And I will tell
But I'm
you,
getting rid of
I don't have
Starbucks.
to give you a website because I'm self-funding my campaign. I'm putting up my own money. I want to do something really special. I want to make our country greater
You
than
are
it's
really
ever been. I
special.
think we have that potential.
I wanna bake
We
some
cannot
cookies.
lose this election. We
On my own, not with my maid.
cannot let Hillary Clinton, who is the worst Secretary of State in the history of our country,
I don't know about
lose
that,
this
dude. Come
election.
on.
We will fight, we will win, and we truly will make this even more special. We have to make it better than ever before, and I will tell you, the United States can actually be better than ever before. Thank you.
Let's make America great again.
Candidates, we want to thank you all. We also appreciate your helping save time.
I don't know if we need to thank
them. At times that was welcome.
Yeah.
But by all means, it was a very riveting debate. Business
Very
as
riveting.
can be.
Riveting?
Can be riveting,
Extremely.
because it wasn't about us.
Extremely riveting.
It wasn't riveting. It was
I mean,
Oh, because it wasn't about us.
yeah, because we got some website plugs.
Hit on
we got some
NBC
bullshit.
there.
boorish and lame. It was the same shit we've heard from them in the previous three
same-
debates.
That
Cock
Eberhard
shittery.
talk is a great one.
Which one?
That Eberhard one.
Eberhard?
Yeah, it's a good one.
JT, yeah.
Yeah.
All of JT's speeches.
Yeah,
are really
he's
good.
he's very good.
I haven't seen a speech from JT yet where I wasn't like, God damn, that was fucking brilliant.
I know. Yeah, he's sharp. He's sharp.
He really is, and he speaks very well. He writes really well. I like,
and his
all of
ideas are fresh and interesting, and his approach is good and clean. Yeah.
So who do you guys
JT for
think?
president.
JT.
Well, besides JT, who do you think won this debate?
I would love to see Aaron Raw as president, just to see what the fucking rest of the world would do.
He would black out the whole White House.
He'd be the Black House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who won?
It's already the Black House.
God, I think Bush is going to slip even farther in the polls.
I know, but every time I try to predict this, I'm
We're all wrong.
absolutely
Yeah.
wrong. I still think Marco Rubio is the slickest.
I think he'll get the biggest bump out of this. I think
I
if
said that
anybody
last
won,
time.
it'll be Rubio.
I said that last time.
Yeah.
His numbers are going up slowly but surely.
But the only person who said anything that I agreed with most of the show was Rand Paul.
Which is, I feel
I know,
dirty saying
I know.
that.
But it's the
I know.
truth.
Yeah.
Rand Paul said stuff that I agreed with.
Yeah, he did. Well, not everything he
Not
said. of
everything,
course,
but he had some talking points which I'm like, right on.
Yeah.
Right on fucking par. And he called out other fucking Republicans on their shit.
Yeah.
On something that needs to
You
be
can't
called
be
out.
conservative and want to spend
Yeah.
trillions of dollars on our military.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I liked him this debate. Now, from a Republican standpoint, they probably didn't like him from this debate. But
I don't know. I think some will.
like him for.
But I think overall, if I were to pick a winner, it would be Rubio.
Yeah,
Rubio is always smiling. He's not attacking other candidates.
He's the most politic.
Yeah.
He's very polished for his age.
Do you think he's playing the safest? Because he doesn't really in the manner that like some of the other guys, but they're doing more attacking on the other opponents.
Well,
they're going, "Hey, it's my time to talk. It's my time to talk." He's not being as childish as some of the other opponents are.
I think it's advantageous because it makes him appear more polished, more
poised, which is something that's probably part of his
more collected
strategy is being. I'm not going to lash out when I feel like lashing out like everyone else is doing. I'm going to hold back and I'm going to look more
presidential.
I think that's one of the big parts of Trump's decline is he
does lash out.
He's desperate. He looks desperate. Kasich looks desperate.
He looks like a child. Yeah.
Jim Webb looked desperate. I mean,
Yeah.
O'Malley is still hanging in there because even though his numbers are just as bad as Webb's,
but O'Malley says he's got good points.
Exactly right, and he's presidential.
Yeah.
His persona is not desperate.
No,
he'll tell you. I think O'Malley and Rubio are good. They're comparable across the platform.
But the thing I don't like about Trump is Trump, to me, he feels like he is
there's a lot
above everyone else.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, as far
that's
as
his persona to me.
goes, like
he has no charm.
O'Malley oozes charm.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you have a little bit. I do too.
I've got a bit of a crush on O'Malley.
I do too.
He was really, really good in that Democratic candidate.
Yeah,
I'd have a beer with him.
Yeah, he looked.
I'd have a beer with any of these guys.
I think I asked you guys, but
I don't like to go to sleep when I drink.
Yeah, I can't remember if you guys told me whether you watched the Democratic candidates forum or not. But O'Malley was just. I mean, he was so comfortable and just oozed charm all over the stage.
I have it saved. I need to watch the whole thing yet.
You could have mopped charm off of the stage after O'Malley left.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that hyperbolic for Rubio, but I think that's the closest you'll get on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah.
As far, I mean, Jeb Bush, Kasich. I mean,
honestly, tonight Jeb Bush looked like he did not want to be there.
No, he doesn't care.
And whenever you saw the wide shot, Kasich was always tapping at the podium. His face making faces. He's like he's cringing at the side, like I want to just blow up. And it doesn't look. So good.
And meanwhile, Bush looked like he would rather be anywhere else but there.
Interestingly, I talked to my father this week. We talked a little bit about politics. He's for some reason, just Republican no matter what kind of thing, even though all of his policies are Bernie.
Yeah.
I'm like, I told him, I'm like, you could be a writer for Bernie with everything you just said right now.
Yeah.
There's a test out there.
If you're policy driven. He won't do it. He's
because he doesn't want to find out if he actually follows the other side.
No, he just, he's a stubborn 70-year-old Vietnam vet guy, and it's old school Republican Party before all that. He's an old racist asshole sometimes, but I told him
like my dad.
Yeah, I told him Bush, Jeb Bush is at least appears to be much more intelligent than his brother, and my dad's like, I don't know, I don't think so. I don't know if he even does. Not that my dad hates W.
Yeah,
but the fact that he was just like, no, fuck Jeb too. Like Jeb has no shot if my dad thinks he's just as bad as W. I mean, Jeb is out of the race. I think the fact that his ego won't allow him to even be mentally present for the debate is not a shocker because he has no base whatsoever.
I think Jeb is better than W. He would have done a better job.
I
want to say,
it's hard.
But we never know. Yeah. He wasn't in that position at that time, so it's hard to say.
It's hard to put anyone in that position. Yeah. But W was
he's
probably
basically agreed with all of his brother's policies.
Yeah, and backed him up fiercely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, has he backed him up because it's a political debate and he doesn't want to shame the Republican Party or
it's family?
Fucking W invaded Iraq because they tried to kill Poppy. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's all in the family there.
Exactly. And
maybe he just sounds better the way he talks.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting. I mean, because my what I'm saying is my dad has tried to make a case for Carson. He's tried to make a case for Ted Cruz.
Yeah,
and when it comes to Bush, he's like, nope, absolutely not. Nope, he's a fucking moron. He's never gonna. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, so Bush is out. Bush is out. He has no base whatsoever.
Yeah, Bush isn't going to make it to the convention,
which is fucking great news. That finally this country will decide not to vote a Bush even for one term.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see, because I honestly think, I think it's going to come up to this debate. If he does not see an influx in money coming in from contributors,
we've
got
been
a lot of family money.
We've been hearing for the last couple debates that he seems detached. He seems like he doesn't want to be there. He has no energy. And
honestly,
after,
would you want to be there?
After the last debate, he went on Meet the Press, and Chuck Todd was interviewing him, and I don't know if you guys saw my post, but he made this really weird fucking non sequitur thing about he would kill for his father, and his father was great and everything. I mean, completely.
Oh, is that the one where he said he killed baby Hitler too?
Well, no.
Oh, okay.
That was more recent.
Oh, okay.
But this, I mean, it was a complete non sequitur. Like, it didn't at all address the question that Chuck Todd had asked him, and he just went on this rant and tirade about how he would kill for his father and he loves his dad and blah blah blah. But I mean, the whole thing was, and then he said, I am energized. I'm in this to win it. I'm here. I'm present. I want to be the next president, and you're going to see that. You're going to see that as I'm campaigning. You're going to see it in the debates. He didn't at all display that tonight.
Nope, he didn't.
Not at all. He looked like he would rather be anywhere else than on stage.
Not showing the emotion needed.
Yeah. He looked like he did not want to be running for president anymore. He's tired of it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he just wants to be in there.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do all this rigmarole.
Yeah. I just want to be president. Won't somebody just fucking hand this to me? I don't want to do the work for it.
Yeah.
My family's not used to working for shit. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed this talk. Do you got some notes, Matt? Or
well, I mean, I won't go through all these 15 pages, but I just want to, just a quick thing about Marco Rubio's first statement about welders make more money than philosophers. The fact-checking on that was that undergraduate degrees in philosophy earn a higher median income than welders. So that's, I'm only repeating that just so that sets the stage for the entire night. All the claims they made. I mean, like I said, I've got 15 pages of fact checking on all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
About Donald Trump's Eisenhower quotes and all that kind of stuff. All of it's bullshit.
Just go to Politico.
I don't know that
and
we would
Snopes.
expect anything different from
No, yeah, go to Snoops.
Snoops.
Snoppies.
Snoop Doggy.
Snoops. Schlitz.
Well, thank you for
Go to
tuning
Shit
in.
Dicks.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope you enjoyed this, because this is, I mean, it's kind of fun in a way,
It is.
but at the same time, it's like, I'm growing really weary of hearing the same shit over and over again.
There's a certain grueling nature to doing these.
I know we're making it more listenable for you guys.
Hopefully, yeah.
But my hair has turned grayer.
Yeah.
What little I have left.
I feel like you've served a presidency.
The feedback we've gotten has suggested that it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
But tonight, since we
thank
didn't
you
do
all.
the kiddies table, we're going to do maybe an extra thing for you guys.
We just might.
We just might.
We just might
throw you a bone.
For any of you who hear this before Saturday, please turn out Saturday for the mass resignation from the LDS Church.
Yes.
That will be happening at 1 p.m. in Salt Lake City. You can find more information on Facebook if you just search for mass resignation. I will be there. Ryan will be there.
Yes.
Matt may be there.
I think I will be there.
There should be a really, really good turnout there.
The biggest ever.
I think this may be the largest mass resignation that has been held since John and Zilpha Larson started this 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm taking a conservative guess at 500.
Yeah. I'm hoping we get that many people out there. I think the largest one was when Atheists of Utah did it a couple of years ago, when we had David Silverman come out ahead of the convention.
Yep.
I think we had right around 100 people, maybe a little over, maybe a little under. I think this event on Saturday will surpass that by far.
Do you think the church will care?
I think they will. They're already discussing revamping the policy and issuing further clarification on the policy.
I think social pressure goes a long way.
Yeah. We'll talk about that here coming up, probably.
Yeah, I'm not convinced the church cares about social pressure as much as they do about tithing.
Well, we'll find out.
They got to keep that machine greased.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. You can reach us at godlessrebelution@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. You can find us on the Twitter at TGR Podcast.
Oh, yeah. Twitter the twatter.
Call us and leave us a message, or send us a text. message at 33081-REBEL.
33081-REBEL!
Find us on Facebook.
I like the duet.
At facebook.com/Godless Rebelution. And please, if you're enjoying the show, let us know. And let your friends know. And rate us on Stitcher and iTunes.
Yeah, go ahead and rape
else.
us on all those.
Yeah. Anywhere else.
Do we want them to rape us?
Were you?
Is it?
No, rate.
Oh, rate us
with a T.
Please rape us. Rate us on those.
Yes. Romeo, Alpha, Tango, Echo.
Once again, we don't make any money on this podcast. We do it out of the kindness of our hearts. So even if you rate us, we don't get any money for it. So just do that out of the kindness of your hearts.
Yeah.
Do us a favor.
Yeah. Let other people know that you enjoy the show. And let us know any show ideas or anything else that you want us to talk about. We'll see you all next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day in the neighborhood.
Bye. Adios. Au revoir. Aloha. See you next time. See you. Bye-bye. Okay.
No. What if we do this? What if we
spend an hour talking about what we're going to do?
No, I got our plan. I got our plan right here in my fucking mini brains. Let's cover the.
That's what I call my penis.
That's my main brain.